Would-be Trump assassin Ryan Ruth is due in a Florida courtroom this morning as the president looks for more answers on both attempts on his life.
Chanley Painter here with more. Chan.
Hey, good morning, Todd and Carly. Ryan Ruth will be in federal court today at 11 a.m. Eastern time for a status hearing. And based on court filings, we are expecting the prosecution and the defense to argue over scheduling and discovery matters. Prosecutors claim the defense has not provided a, quote, single item that it reasonably expects to use in its case in chief at trial, which prosecutors need in order to move forward and prepare their motions before trial. But Ruth's defense team responded in part, quote, the defense is not required to produce anything at all. If the defense wishes to present evidence in its case in chief, then the defense must produce that material. The 59-year-old convicted felon is accused of lying in wait for more than 12 hours on the perimeter of the Trump International Golf Club in West Palm Beach with the hopes of assassinating Trump back in September. At the time, Trump had just survived a previous assassination attempt 2 months earlier in Butler, Pennsylvania, during a campaign rally. Well, yesterday, the president told reporters he would be willing to release the reports on both assassination attempts.
I want to find the answers. I've told them. When you have 3 apps and 2 of them are foreign, and you had an FBI that wouldn't report on it, they didn't want to say why, I would say that could be suspicious. The second one, he had 6 cell phones. That's a lot of cell phones. I want to find out, and I would be willing to release it. I mean, maybe there's a reason that we shouldn't, so I don't want to get too far ahead of my skis, but yeah, I would be very willing to release that.
And as of right now, Ryan Ruth's trial is set for September, but it could change after today's hearing.
Who the hell is this? I was freaking sleeping! I will rip your throat out! Do you hear me? You're in the bushes! Yeah!
Don't make me sleep!
Bushes all around!
I'm sorry!
All right, it's Free for All Friday. Here we go. Letting her rip. I got to tell you, no other show will be able to flow with the golden era the way that we will. President Trump announced seconds ago that he's going to go live from the Oval Office. Maybe like right now, 11 a.m. is what the White House said. President Trump will be live from the Oval Office. So we're going to cover that here, and we are set and ready to go. We are also going to dive deeply into the Trump assassination mystery. Questions that only this show has been asking about what was really going on inside of DHS. Why was the Secret Service stripped from President Trump that day? And he had very mysterious connections to Department of Homeland Security police. Very strange. The same police that the gunman, Matthew Thomas Crooks, trains with. Isn't that something? Who's Matthew Thomas Crooks on the phone with? There's so many big questions, and we started this ball rolling with Kristi Noem when we had the temerity to actually ask her 1 day ago about these strange circumstances. Also, you know, Donald Trump was almost killed by a dude who was effectively Ukrainian military, a guy named Ryan Routh. Ryan Ruth is a guy who, I don't care if I get his name wrong, he's a scumbag. He's in court today. So what the hell is that about? Will we find out more about his connections to Ukraine? Ukraine, the country that was campaigning for Democrats? They wanted Donald Trump to lose so badly? Zelensky just got bodied at the White House by Trump? And then this guy with deep connections to the Ukrainian military goes on a shooting rampage trying to kill Trump. I don't know, man. Are there coincidences in this life? No, there are not. But ladies and gentlemen, we are thankful for you and all of us here together on Friday, March 7th, 2025. We're going to cover all of these strange topics. Seems the collapse of the globalist empire is at hand. Hunter Biden's also broke. And so we're going to laugh and stare at Hunter Biden. We're going to talk to the man who Hunter Biden's sued. Hunter Biden's suing a man named Garrett Ziegler, who worked for President Trump. He's going to be live on the program. Hunter Biden just filed in court, I'm too broke to go on with my lawsuits. Apparently nobody's buying his art anymore. Nobody wants to book him for any speeches. Nobody wants to buy his books. Hunter Biden can't afford to carry on his lawsuit. Also, in the filing, it says that Hunter Biden can't find a job. It's good to be right. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll also have VA Secretary Doug Collins on the program. That marks 4 cabinet secretaries this week for the president's administration on the program. 4 cabinet secretaries in 3 days. Who done it? Okay, who's bringing it in the golden era? We're excited about it. We're pumped. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. Listen up. It's your golden era. This is the golden era. It's time for us to let her rip. We are going to be live with President Trump again in the Oval Office. They just announced Trump will be live in the Oval Office at 11 a.m. It's 11:07 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, so I guess any time now. Ladies and gentlemen, get your golden era in order with my friends at Advantage Gold. Advantage Gold can help you capitalize on record high gold prices nearing $3,000 per ounce. Central banks worldwide are increasing their gold reserves in order to hedge against volatility. There's a big crypto summit at the White House today. I'm not dogging on crypto at all. I'm not dogging on the American stock market. I'm saying you should diversify, right? You should make sure that you have things that are solid in your portfolio and that perform over the long term. Gold, for me, ladies and gentlemen, is what I trust as an asset class, and Advantage Gold is who I trust to bring that asset class into my bank account. They've earned an A+ rating for the Better Business Bureau, and they've assisted thousands of Americans in protecting their savings. Interested in learning more? Text Benny to 85545 right now. They'll send you a free gold investment guide. Plus, when you qualify, you'll get $1,000 free silver when you qualify for the purchase. Remember, helping secure your financial future starts right now with informed decisions. Text Benny to 85545. Data and message rates apply. Performance may vary. You should also consult your financial and tax professionals. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have a live shot of the White House here. We'll show you. The president has, again, we're repeating ourselves here, but at time of show, President Trump sends out a message saying, yo, we're going live. And we don't know exactly what he's going to go live on. We're not exactly certain. Klein, can you put up that article right there? This is what happened yesterday at the White House. Trump said he's going to release all assassination reports against him. There are suspicious things that have been happening. Is this President Trump releasing the assassination reports? Well, I'm not sure. The only reason why Fox News decided to ask this question was because we created quite a news cycle asking the Department of Homeland Security Secretary about this. We may not get asked back, I'm not sure. You know, like the way this all works is we are able to accept and absorb the energy from the chat. We love the chat. We love you. And you have continued to ask questions about the shady as hell, mysterious as hell assassination attempts against Trump. One of them by a Ukrainian military asset, and one of them by the only 22-year-old in the world who doesn't have a social media imprint, but who was definitely on encrypted apps all around the world, using a cell phone, speaking with somebody right before he got 8 shots off on President Trump. How do you know exactly where to crawl? How do you know where to go? How'd this guy have the instincts to actually like go to the exact right spot where nobody would be able to shoot back at him? You know, we are the only show that actually traveled to that rooftop and stood where Matthew Thomas Crooks stood. We've been there. We saw his blood trail freshly scrubbed off the roof. It was insane. We were there so fast. Ladies and gentlemen, so many questions. President Trump is saying, yeah, I have questions too. And it's damn time that the American public hear what this is about. We have no idea if this is what President Trump's going to announce at the White House. Again, ladies and gentlemen, here's a live shot of the White House right now. You can see the beautiful American flag fluttering in the wind. We await President Trump speaking. And maybe this is what he's going to talk about. But until we figure that out, we're going to talk about it. That's what we're going to do. This is what, ladies and gentlemen, we asked Kristi Noem this week about Matthew Thomas Crooks. The reason why we asked this question, and not like a question like the corporate media asks, like, do you like the sky? Is the sun hot? Like, are you happy? Like, we don't ask dumb questions. We ask pointed questions that get at actual fact patterns that you want to know about. This is a time for radical transparency. So it doesn't make us a ton of friends. I mean, it does make us a ton of friends. Like, Trump secretaries are coming on, like cabinet secretaries are coming on the show like crazy, and we're honored for it. But the reason why we make news cycles like this is because we listen to you, and we love you, and we are you. And so we have the same concerns. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think we threw Kristi Noem off a little bit here. We asked about Matthew Thomas Crooks, and we set it up by saying, like, listen, Madam Secretary, in all due respect, you're in charge of Secret Service. You're in charge of the Department of Homeland Security, Secret Police, Department of Homeland Security Investigations, who was training with Matthew Thomas Crooks. We'll show you that evidence. They went to the same gun ranges together. What the hell is that about? You have all this evidence. You have his cell phone. You have all of his devices. You have his creepy ass parents. We'll show you clips of them. Why is his whole family so mysterious? Why'd he go to D.C.? We asked the secretary the best that we can do right now, and we started this news cycle. Here we go.
Secret Service has had some bad advertisements,
Yes,
right? Like the assassination attempt in Butler.
Yes.
And many people, especially in our audience, are frustrated at the lack of understanding of what the motivation was, who was Matthew Thomas Crooks talking to on the phone, what was happening behind the scenes. Some investigators are out saying he might not have acted alone. Again, what people want, I think, is just information because it seems so strange. This guy almost started a civil war, changed the course of human history with 8 shots on the president.
Well, we need to know the truth, and Americans deserve the truth. They really do. Yeah, and that is all information that the president will be fully briefed on and will know, and that the American public will know. What I will say also is that what we have seen continuously, and what I see as a fundamental flaw, is a breakdown in communication. And it's part of my job at DHS is to help streamline that. If you look at that situation in Butler, the communication between Secret Service, the local law enforcement, the state law enforcement, all the agencies that were there, it was a breakdown in how they communicate and how they do it in a situation like that. But we see the same thing happening in a crisis that could be in response to a natural disaster. How the federal responders communicate with the state responders, with the local emergency management operators. A lot of times when we see failures in FEMA or in failures in other departments and agencies, it's because they weren't communicating. And for me, my job, what I believe needs to happen so many times is a pre-education and a structure for how we communicate and how we do things before they happen. Sean knows that part of that training that needs to happen is educating folks on how we're going to work with local law enforcement before that event ever comes, and spending time to create those communication structures. Because if you go back through the investigations that the House and the Senate have done into Butler, a lot of it was they weren't talking to each other, they weren't cooperating together, therefore their assets weren't fully utilized. And how did that happen? How did 8 shots get off? And is he acting alone? We still don't have the answers because we weren't talking to each other.
So you don't know if he was acting alone?
Well, it's not my purview to say to you today all of that, but I will say that it all is information that the American public will have at the appropriate time.
So there is an investigation going on,
and
we will learn a lot more.
And members of Congress are still working on that as well, too. So it's not just an investigation, with law enforcement entities in the country, but also Congress is still very much on top of it.
So we're going to get to the Ukrainian militant who nearly killed Trump as well. Don't worry, we'll skin him alive. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to spend a little bit of time here on Matthew Thomas Crooks, because Matthew Thomas Crooks is caught stepping. Here he is, right there. Who took this photo of Matthew Thomas Crooks? The zit-faced, pale, translucent-skinned, creepy, Antifa-looking, dorky weirdo who probably couldn't even lift a bag of rice. How's this guy, who looks like he's a before photo in a Proactive ad, able to kill the man with the largest footprint on Earth? And by kill, I mean he hit him in the head with the bullet. Without the hand of God and Providence protecting Donald Trump, how the hell did this guy hit the single most high target valued asset on Earth? Make an argument. I'll make an argument. Donald Trump's the most famous man walking the earth today. The end. Fight me on that. You can't. You can't. He is more famous than Putin. He is more famous than some Ayatollah or whatever. Xi Jinping. Go wander around and ask people about Xi Jinping and then ask them about Donald Trump. See who they know. Donald Trump, the most famous man walking the earth today. They got a successful headshot on, killed people, shot other people, 8 shots on President Trump, and he's talking with someone. Who is it? This is a photo taken from a sniper. It's like Matthew Thomas Crooks knew exactly where on the rooftop to stand and to crawl to. He crawled to the exact right location where there wasn't going to be an agent able to take him out. We did a whole documentary on this. ALX, it might be worth actually loading up a portion of that documentary because we are the only show on earth that went and stood where Matthew Thomas Crooks, there it is. There's the blood trail. That's us. I filmed this from my cell phone. We stood right at his sniper position. Donald Trump was at the Red Barn. This is how close. I'm just zooming in with my iPhone. Donald Trump's at the Red Barn. There you go. See those sticks? That's how close he was. Any gun owners out there? You know how easy of a shot that is? This is with my cell phone. See the sticks? See the guy standing there on the sticks? I'm laying literally right in the sniper position. Right here. The only show with the balls to actually go there, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, you remember the Red Barn. That was where the Secret Service was. But the roof here is sloped, LOL. Sloped in the sense that, the Secret Service was so scared to be on the sloped roof. Remember that? Remember how they tried to lie to you? That's another indication. That's another indication that all of this is garbage. All of this is complete and total bull dung. You've been fed lies. It's very important, obviously, that video. I want to just establish one more thing. Can we go back to that video? Because we knew what we were looking for here. The Secret Service was supposed to be in those windows. So you should have had snipers in these windows. I could go, this might be a 4-hour show. I mean, I could go on. We've studied this so much. But you want to talk about people who actually know what they're talking about? Talk to the people that laid down in the guy's blood, okay? Oh, and why was the roof sprayed off? That's another question. Why was it washed off? Why was he cremated? Dude got cremated faster than a household pet. Your little canary dies? Matthew Thomas Crook was cremated faster than that. Have we ever seen a toxicology report? Hey, ask yourself a question. I know George Floyd's toxicology report. George Floyd was killed with fentanyl. George Floyd died of fentanyl poisoning. George Floyd, if anything, is a major warning sign against the amount of poisonous fentanyl that's being fed into our country. But we're not ready to have that conversation, are we? Have you seen a toxicology report from Matthew Thomas Crooks? The guy that nearly started a civil war and changed all world history? Have you seen any data from his cell phone? No, because they scrubbed it. Look at this. FBI fires back a claim that Crooks' body was cremated days after Trump assassination attempt by saying, yes, we cremated his body. This is incredible. Congressman Clay Higgins, friend of the show, says that he requested to view Crooks' body, and nobody on the ground in Butler knew that it had already been handed back to the suspect's family and immediately cremated. This caused quite a stir and revealed a very disturbing fact. He was trying to find he was trying to look at the dead body because he wanted to be the only independent source that ever saw the dead body. You've received nothing. My efforts to examine Crooks' body, this is from Congressman Clay Higgins, fantastic congressman, former sheriff, member of law enforcement, caused quite a stir and revealed a disturbing fact. The FBI released the body for cremation 10 days after the assassination attempt. So where the hell is the toxicology report? Nobody knew this. Nobody asked. The county coroner, law enforcement, said, we had no idea. Butler County coroner technically has the legal authority over the body. But the FBI shoved that sucker right into the flames. The FBI said, nope, gone. The FBI can be seen, I don't know if we could grab this, that'd be great. FBI could be seen power washing the roof right before we got there. Literally a day before we got there, the FBI power washed the roof. So let's go back to the video that I filmed. It's very important. This shows you what an inside job all this was. Either Matthew Thomas Crooks is the single luckiest guy. Matthew Thomas Crooks, kind of guy that should have invested in Bitcoin back in 2008, right? He's the guy that goes to the casino and just bets on black, wins the house every single time. He's either the luckiest human being to ever flipping live based on the preponderance of absolute golden miracles that were handed to him that day for him to successfully get a pot shot off the president. Let's talk through some of the abject, miraculous walk through a series of slot machine, pull every single, so you walk through 20 slot machines, you pull every handle, and every single time you get jackpot, jackpot, jackpot right across. You do it 20 times in a row. This was Matthew Thomas Crooks' day. Matthew Thomas Crooks, who was escorted out of the rally, who tried to enter the rally with a viewfinder, who should have been arrested immediately on the spot for trying to enter the rally with a rangefinder. Rangefinders are only used for people that are ready to shoot something. That's the only reason you would use a rangefinder. There is no other, or a golf course, right? How far away is the hole? That's it. No, there's no other uses for a rangefinder. You're either trying to measure the distance for a shot, either a golf ball or a bullet. So he walks in with a rangefinder and they just let him go. Then he's followed by a cop car and they just let him go. Then he climbs on the rooftop of this building after being on the cell phone with somebody. He gets on the rooftop and he's able to scamper across a very large manufacturing facility. This is the A&R glass factory in Butler, Pennsylvania. He's able to scamper across this rooftop and lay flat on the top of this roof while exposing his head multiple times to snipers. I'm not sure if we have that footage, but if we could grab that. Where you can see his head literally, you can see Donald Trump speaking, and you can see his head popping up and down. Nobody does anything. Why does nobody do anything? Because, and forgive me for jumping here, because there's no Overwatch at the highest location. Anybody who's ever been to war, or anybody who knows literally anything about anything, knows that you want to be on the highest location in order to see what's going on in case of an emergency. Duh. You ever been to a playground? Have you ever been to have you ever watched have you ever watched like Curious George or Sesame Street? You clearly understand what I have the high ground, Anakin, means. Nobody was up on that watchtower. Nobody was up there. This, of course, would have been so I'm standing right where Matthew Thomas Crooks was. This would have been the easiest kill shot ever from the watchtower. Hey, there's a weirdo with a gun. Dead. See ya. Nobody was up there. Why the hell was nobody up there? That seems strange and absolutely a break in protocol. And then, what gets better, there's his blood again. Then what gets better, there should have been a sniper right in that window. There was a sniper in that window. Get a load of this. This is what makes me scream inside job. There was a sniper in that window. There were 2-man sniper team in that window. It should have been a 4-man sniper team. 2 guys went home early. They were sent home early. Who sent them home? Then the other guy, he hears there's somebody crawling around on the rooftop. So he goes down to go figure it out. He gets locked out of the building. His key card doesn't work. And then, so the sniper who should have been in that position, look at how easy that shot would have been. This is like Chuck E. Cheese, like layup shots. That's the sniper who's sitting there in the window. He has to go down and get his buddy out. So then there's no sniper in the window. So Matthew Thomas Crooks is able to trot around on the rooftop right here. Look, you can literally see his dumb ass wobbling around on the rooftop, exposing his head. Oh, he's such a smooth criminal. Oh, he's so smart. He's such a great operator. Nope, he's not. It's like they knew the one position at this rally where some guy, and they created an environment where this one guy, no matter how stupid he is, would be able to get shots off on Trump. The jackassery of all of this. There are no coincidences, ladies and gentlemen. And so then what happens? Matthew Thomas Crooks is not only able to fire, not only do the snipers not either see him and not shoot, he's able to fire 8 shots. We have the original video here. Go ahead and listen to the number of gunshots that he's able to get off before anybody returns fire. Let's go.
If you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
right, they did a jump cut. They did a jump cut in this video. It's a full 30 seconds. Obviously, you know, of course, the single most iconic and miraculous moment, what I would call the most widely seen miracle in human history. What man intends for evil, God intends for good. This is the most widely seen miracle in human history. Okay, that Trump got up from that. What if Matthew Thomas Crooks had just trained his fire on Trump? It's macabre, but the reality is he would have been able to shoot through the Secret Service agents. You know, Trump just falls flat on the. Trump's just sitting there. Trump's just sitting there. With every single one of those bullets, all 8 of those bullets could have hit Trump. Every single one of those bullets, Trump had no protection. It took 30 seconds for the Secret Service to return fire. And remember the Lady Ghostbusters? I'm not sure if they're in this video or not. The Lady Ghostbusters that couldn't even holster their weapon, they're all from Homeland Security investigations. Ooh, boy, we're going to jump into that too. What's this Homeland Security investigation? What a dirty little operation. Homeland Security investigations, of course, is a strange little group that's part of every single PSYOP that's been pulled on our movement in the last couple of years, right? Homeland Security investigations was crawling all over January 6th. Homeland Security investigations, who again, the Lady Ghostbuster was in charge of right here. Okay, there you go. I mean, you remember the video. These aren't Secret Service agents. Obviously. Look, you see, I just can't load her gun. They were giving Trump, they literally had surrounded Trump with like not the B team, not the C or E team, but no team. They surrounded Trump with people that couldn't holster their weapon. These were the people protecting Trump that day. There's too much going on, man. There's too much going on. That's why we asked Matthew Thomas Crooks, who the hell was he on the phone with? Look at this phone. He's sitting there. He's talking with someone. Who's Crooks on the phone with before he shot the president in the face? Trump assassin Matthew Thomas Crooks trained at same gun range used by DHS. Well, that's odd. That's a little strange, ain't it? Kind of mysterious that not only is he training with DHS, and I'm going to be careful here. Okay, I don't have any direct evidence that he's training with DHS. That like DHS agents are like, no, shoot like this, right? And let's put a MAGA hat downrange. I do have evidence. I do know that the name of the gun range, and we do have the federal license. We do have the literal Clarion Sportsman Club sign-in sheets that say DHS. And then here's Matthew Thomas Crooks' name. I'm sorry. That's insane. It's on the same day. It's on the same day. Okay, 22. Here we go. 22, 23. All right, so let's be accurate. This says 22. This says 23. But either way, we have the sign-in sheet. It's the same range. And call it what it is. It's within the same hours of shooting at the same range. That's a little strange. That's a little odd. You know what's also odd is that Matthew Thomas Crooks kept going mysteriously to D.C. What's he doing? This scumbag's like effectively fun employed. He's a loser. He has no life. He has no social media. No social media record, with the exception of Gab. Hey, Alex, was that ever confirmed? There's a site called Gab. The owner of Gab, Andrew Torba, had a record of a guy who he believed was Matthew Thomas Crooks, who was on there regularly arguing in favor of Joe Biden. We know that Matthew Thomas Crooks donated to Joe Biden. He donated to far left-wing causes using Act Blue, the Democrat donation vector. All this, it's all a psyop that he's a Republican. No, he's not. His parents are school counselors. He's living with his parents. He's a loser, yet he keeps going to D.C. Why is that exactly? What was he doing in D.C.? And where did he go in D.C.? Well, within blocks of the FBI. We found the assassin's connections in in-depth analysis of mobile tracking movements. To do this, we tracked devices that regularly visited Crooks' home and place of work. So why were these mysterious visits? What were these mysterious visits from Washington, D.C. to Matthew Thomas Crooks' home? Look at this. So this is the area of the FBI, so the Chinatown area of Washington, D.C. Someone who regularly visited Crooks' home and work also visited a building in Washington, D.C. located in Gallery Place. This is right next to the FBI. Whose device is this? Can we please get that information? Another device visited Plymouth, Massachusetts. We found one device linked to Crooks' work that traveled to Butler, Pennsylvania on July 4th and July 8th. The device then stopped all activity the day before Trump was shot. Huh. Almost like a scouting trip. One device linked to Crooks visited Allegheny Arms. We know that he bought we know that he bought his ammunition from there. Here's all the relevant locations within Bethel Park, Pennsylvania that are linked to Thomas Crooks' home and place of work. By the way, why don't we know anything about Thomas Crooks' home? Somebody please explain that? Can somebody please explain why he's in a BlackRock ad? Thomas Crooks appeared in BlackRock ad in 2022. This isn't at all controversial to say because it's literally real. BlackRock admits it. BlackRock was filming an ad at Matthew Thomas Crooks' high school, and the ad featured Trump's assassin. He was not paid, nor was he hired by the company as an actor. In 2022, says BlackRock, we ran an ad featuring Bethel Park High School in which several unpaid students briefly appeared in the background, including Matthew Thomas Crooks. They've scrubbed the ad now from the internet. The Secret Service fatally shot Crooks, whose motive for opening fire remains unknown. That's right. The FBI is investigating the shooting. Can anybody please explain to me why we know nothing about Matthew Thomas Crooks' parents? Matthew Brian Crooks and Mary Elizabeth Crooks are both professional counselors. Okay? Here's their counselor licensing. And they refuse to go out in public. They shop at 3 a.m. Here they are here, a Fox News video. They put masks on their faces, cover their faces, and refuse to say anything to the public. We have no comment. Give us our space. Well, your kid shot the president in the head. Do you have can you say you're sorry about that, or you're sorry that Trump got shot in the head? Matthew Thomas Crooks' dad said one thing to the camera, one time. Check this out.
Mr. Crooks, was there anything that might have made you aware of what your son was up to? Mr. Crooks, was there anything that might have made you aware of what your son was up to?
Mr. Crooks, can you explain why your son has such a limited social circle?
Is there any statement you'd be willing to share with us right now, Mr. Crooks?
I gotta pee.
I gotta pee. This is what the guy says. Here's the guy. This is him and his wife. His wife walks around, obviously, with full disguise on. She's there, right there, wearing a mask, the cap pulled down over her eyes with a big hoodie on. This guy gets a chance to say something in the very heat of all of this, and he says, I gotta pee. Have you ever seen this video? It's insane. They don't go outside. They never leave their house. Apparently, the house was completely scrubbed clean. We know what was in the house because there are photos of the FBI outside. What do I mean? We know that the FBI went through the house. They had one of those giant tents set up outside of the house. They have gathered insane amounts of information, evidence from inside of the home. What did Matthew Thomas Crooks' bedroom look like? It's crazy. The FBI, Fed Op, Patriot Front, every single time they march or do anything, we know everything. We have all this video of them. We see them in their box trucks. See all this footage. They make sure that's shoved down our throats, right? Why have you never seen a photo of Matthew Thomas Crooks' bedroom? Why have we never seen, like, I don't know, what playing cards he had? What console devices was he using? What poster did he have up in his room? Do you have a Joe Biden poster in his room? Do you have a Barack Obama poster in his room? What were, like, the things? Like, what was his diet? Like, these are the kind of things that you would learn about if it was, I don't know, a terrorist. Here's a good example. Some guy who was an ISIS terrorist, former United States Army dude, some guy that was an ISIS terrorist went and killed a bunch of people on New Year's Day in New Orleans. It's a horrifying attack. It's awful. Within 1 hour, within 1 hour, okay, within 1 day, the media was allowed, do we have that ridiculous old video? Within 1 day, the media was allowed to tour his home, to literally take cameras, show us all of his, they literally showed us bomb-making kit. The media they swung open the door for us to go in and look through all of his house. It's a famous video. I know we did like a whole read on it. It's the New York Post, if I recall correctly. They're like wandering through. Oh, here's his Quran. Here's his comb. Here's his bomb-making kit. Here are all of his weapons. Okay. I'm not saying maybe, I don't think that's probably what should have happened, but it is what happened. So where's that video of Matthew Thomas Crooks' house? Can somebody explain that to me? I'm not trying to I pray for the dead. I am so sorry that people lost their lives in New Orleans. We're angry about it. We want it to stop. I'm not trying to discount that. But shooting Trump in the head is on a different level. It just is, because you'd start a civil war, honestly, with that attack. Like, you kill Trump, you start a civil war. You destroy the global order. You change the course of all human history. So why do we know nothing about him? Why have you never seen inside of Matthew Thomas Crooks' house? Here's his house right there. Here's his house. Okay, so there's his home. You can see on the screen there. You can see the little yellow tape around his house. They had little FBI tents outside of his house. They were clearly combing the house for something. Here's the home. They were looking for something. Maybe they got it. Matthew Thomas Crooks' parents called law enforcement before the Trump rally to say that they were worried about their kid. Matthew Thomas Crooks, I just verified that Matthew Crooks' dad lives at the same address as now deceased son, along with his wife. They're both professional counselors. Professional counselors. Okay. Licensed social workers. Crazy. Do we have that? Like, here's what you got. Here's what you got. Okay, so if it's an ISIS terrorist, here's what we get. So if it's a member of ISIS. No. Yeah. ISIS. Yeah. So if it's an ISIS terrorist, here's what we get. Here you go. Look. Here, we can touch everything. We can see everything. See every single little thing. Look, it's his Quran. Look. I guess I'm not arguing with this level of transparency. A lot of people said it was very strange. Look, we're gonna 24 hours after he murders 12 Americans, we're just gonna wander around, show you what's in his fridge, show you everything. Like, here's actually the FBI list. Here's like the federal paperwork on the guy. We're just gonna leave everything out. Where's this video of Matthew Thomas Crooks' house? Anyone? Nothing? Now we learn that he wasn't acting alone. Would-be Trump assassin Matthew Thomas Crooks may have had an accomplice. Data shows, and investigators say the FBI is suppressing info. Well. Shall we tune in to Dan Bongino, the new deputy director of the FBI, who starts on March 17th. He starts in 10 days. Let's go ahead and tune in. Let's go see what Dan has to say about this, because Dan's going to be literally in charge of these files.
Folks, this Crooks thing stinks to the heavens, man. This has the stench of sulfur all over it. You can't find this guy's communications anywhere. He's managed to find the Catwoman freaking program to wipe himself off the internet. Bullshit. The question you should ask And Congress people, you need to ask under oath, was Matthew Crooks working with any FBI agent, off duty, on duty, between duty, near duty, retired, not born yet? You get the point? Also, was Thomas Crooks working with FBI asset, confidential informant, a non-confidential informant, an informant who's confidential now but wasn't before, an informant who wants to be an informant but hasn't been approved yet? Do you see the games they play?
Thank God that man is our new deputy director of the FBI. Can't start fast enough. Freaking Dan Bongino asking the right questions. New York Post, Thomas Crooks may have had an accomplice. Oh, really? The zit-faced, acneed dork who, again, looks like he was barely able to carry a bag of rice, a box of Captain Crunch from the cabinet. Of course, the cabinets you'll never see. Videos of him inside the home, you'll never see them. Interviews with the parents, where the hell are they? The only statements the parents have made is, I have to pee. Well, it's on camera. Don't be upset at me about it. That's what the guy said. The guy gets an opportunity to talk to the media and he goes, I have to pee. How about I'm sorry my kid killed Corey Comparator, shot Trump in the head? How about that? How about a little grief? Like some type of olive branch to the community that's been ripped to pieces. What a little information. This is infuriating that we've had no answers in 7 months. Trump assassin leaked to DC FBI office. Personnel within the FBI may have been obstructing the investigation into the actions of the potential accomplices of Matthew Thomas Crooks. Oversight Project found assassins' connections through an in-depth analysis of mobile data that we just covered. Oversight Project, somebody who regularly visited Crooks' home and work, visited a building in Washington, D.C. This is right next to the FBI. Very strange. Trump's would-be assassin has accomplices. This has now been widely covered. Imagine my shock. Network of evil. Would-be Trump assassin Matthew Thomas Crooks has accomplices, data shows. Data also shows that he had encrypted apps in Belgium, Germany, and New Zealand. What the hell are on those apps? Here he is just wandering around. There's Matthew Thomas Crooks. Moments before in Butler, Pennsylvania. We've literally stood on this exact spot, and we know exactly where this road was because we went back to Butler, Pennsylvania. Exactly where this is. Here's Matthew Thomas Crooks just wandering around, scoping the place out. Tried to walk in with a rangefinder. Good. Ladies and gentlemen, okay, yeah, good. We apologize. The streaming service that we use, StreamYard, is having some type of has some type of glitch where assets aren't playing sometimes correctly. So we apologize if our production team is doing our best to speak with our streaming partner in StreamYard, but there is a small technical glitch where the assets don't play. So if it takes a second for an asset to play, this is why. Yeah, dude, this guy's not a criminal mastermind. He maintained encrypted messaging apps on platforms hosted abroad. Dude, this thing is dirty. Now, who told you? Boy, howdy. Have we ever been on this for a very, very long time? We had Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna on the show. This was just in the weeks after, suggesting that Thomas Crooks did not act alone. I think he had a handler, the Congresswoman says. I think someone was walking him through how to do this. This was posted in August, on August 16th. So you're talking a month after Donald Trump. We are out here doing our best to deliver truth on what happened. But I think the darkest we've ever gone into who may be helping and why the FBI is suppressing this information is with Mike Benz. You have to give Mike Benz a second to explain here. Mike Benz is somebody who takes his time to answer these questions because he's very, very thorough and because he's somebody who really thinks these things through. And Mike Benz, in a clip that went thermonuclear at the time, explained how a splinter cell operation from inside of DHS could have facilitated, groomed, and then created the environment for Matthew Thomas Crooks to shoot Trump. And that this could be easily done by simply creating a fifth column of agents inside of a tight cluster. And Mike goes into details about how they do this and how they groom assassins. Here's Mike.
It would be remarkably easy, all in-house within DHS through the following mechanism. We know that January 6th was...
By this, you mean an assassination on President Trump?
Yes.
Okay.
Allowing a clear shot on the United States president, at a rally. We know that DHS, and specifically a division called HSI, Homeland Security Investigations, had more feds on January 6th than the FBI did. They were running something through the JTTF, the Joint Terrorism Task Force, to recruit informants in the Oath Keepers, the Proud Boys, and the Three Percenters. And there's a great tape that I've referenced many times now, a 45-minute audio that was recorded lawfully, but discreetly by a former Oath Keeper named Jeremy Brown, who was recruited by two DHS HSI, Homeland Security Investigations officers, starting about 2 months before January 6th, but then ramping up into a month before, and even called him on his personal cell phone twice the morning of January 6th. This is all, by the way, in federal documents. They can read all about it, and you can listen to this, and I can post on my timeline. But it was HSI actively recruiting intelligence assets within the same militias that they were targeting and surveying in order to turn against the Trump movement and to infiltrate and to participate in January 6th events. Now, HSI is an interesting sort of outfit unto itself. DHS is a little bit different than the FBI because the FBI is supposed to be the intelligence arm of the Justice Department. So everything has to run through justice. Everything has to be, approved by them. There has to be a law-breaking predicate. You have to, get all the paperwork because it has to be criminal. But DHS is not. DHS is sort of a free-roaming agency in that way. DHS is the only other intelligence agency other than the FBI, but it's not attached to the Justice Department. It can do its own thing. And it's been reported that because of the NATO summit going on that week and the Jill Biden event going on that day during the Butler rally, that there was a reduced Secret Service presence covering Donald Trump, and that they were replaced by agents from HSI.
Yes.
Now, if HSI also had representation at this gun range, that is, all it would have taken. Now, one of the things I come back to is look at the timing. Okay, not only was this shooting, this attempted assassination, the day before the RNC convention to nominate someone, so it would have been super easy doing it that way to put in a Nikki Haley. And it was 2 weeks after the SCOTUS immunity decision ended, the Justice Department's ability to kill Trump through 1,000 years in prison. But this seemed really ready to go, didn't it? The Butler rally took place 1 week, just 1 week after it was announced. And in just 1 week, this guy, 20-year-old kid, got drone surveillance, was able to, scope the place, was able to construct 3 homemade pipe bombs. God, where have I heard that before? And if you remember, the FBI was busted teaching right-wing militia people to make pipe bombs in the Gretchen Whitmer Fednapping case. The thing they were actually arrested on was attempting to purchase weapons of mass destruction, i.e. pipe bombs, that were sold to them by FBI agents. And not only that, before the FBI attempted to sell them pipe bomb materials, the FBI created a Truman Show of federal agents to come to these people's meetings and teach them how to make pipe bombs.
We've been asking these questions for so long, and we need answers. I also am so glad that I got a haircut, because what the hell is going on there? We're doing our very best, ladies and gentlemen, to bring you truth and to be right, or at the very least, set ourselves up to deliver light in the darkness. We believe that after a series of questions that we asked earlier in the week, we finally created sort of a national consciousness about this issue and have brought it back home. President Trump was asked about this in the White House. Now, President Trump was supposed to be live. The White House said that President Trump is going to be live from the Oval Office at 11 a.m. It is now 11:52 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. President Trump we still have like a holding screen here with the White House. Here's a live shot of the White House right here. We have a spectacular guest who will be joining us here in just a minute. But we want to let you know that we still don't know what this announcement is about. Is it about the assassination attempt? Is it about the assassination attempt report? I mean, can you show that photo, please, of the FBI scrubbing this? I mean, this is the real photo. This is 24 hours after Matthew Thomas Crooks nearly changed all of world history and started a civil war. Quick! Spray all the evidence. Cremate the body. Don't ask any questions. Don't ask any questions. Well, that's our job. And we do it for you. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been doing it about a lot of things you're not allowed to ask questions about, like Hunter Biden. And Garrett Ziegler, Marco Polo, will be joining us in just a second, who's one of the bravest journalists on earth. The reason why we're particularly happy or have a little bit of a gunpowder in our gut, as they would say, back where I come from, is because President Trump finally addressed his own assassination, something that I think he's deigned to talk about, doesn't speak about it regularly, finally addressed it yesterday. We kept asking Kristi Noem about the assassination reports. That filtered its way up to Trump in the White House. Peter Doocy from Fox News grabbed our ball and ran with it. Here we go.
It's been 7 months. Why do you think we don't know more about the guy who shot you in the ear?
Yeah, well, and the second one with all of his cell phones. So I want to find the answers. I've told them. In fact, today I said, I want to find, we can no longer blame Biden for that one. He should have released that a long time ago. So they are giving me a report next week sometime, and I do believe I'll be releasing. I want to release the report. A lot of people have asked that question. You had one who had 3 apps, 2 of which were foreign, supposedly, and who has the biggest white shoe law firm in Pennsylvania, even though they don't live in necessarily a white shoe area. What's that all about? His law, the law firm. The other one had 7 or 6 cell phones, and I don't have 6 cell phones. And why would somebody have 6 cell phones? So we're going to be releasing a report on that soon, Peter.
But based on what you're saying right there, the lack of information and the data points that you just gave, does that make you think that there's some part of there's some bigger...
It could be. Well, it makes other people think that. It makes me think it a little bit too. I say, when you have 3 apps and 2 of them are foreign, and you had an FBI that wouldn't report on it, they didn't want to say why, I would say that could be suspicious. And then on the second assassin, you had, and by the way, I have to tell you, Secret Service did a great job on that by spotting him. But on the second one, he had 6 cell phones. That's a lot of cell phones.
Ladies and gentlemen, President Trump is live in the White House right now. Here we go.
Treasury to basically bring about modifications to the public service loan forgiveness program in order to ensure that people who are engaged in these sorts of activities can't benefit from a program that's really not intended to support those sorts of things.
And what are the consequences if they are not good?
The consequences would be that they wouldn't get forgiveness of their student loans as they would be eligible for if they were working for the government or a normal nonprofit that's not violating the law.
All right. Any questions on that? Anybody have any questions? So we'll talk about the manufacturing turnaround, and it's been very early, but it's pretty significant. The numbers were much better, as you know, than projected by the media, and a little surprising, actually, how strong, how fast, because we have many companies are moving into our country. As you probably know, it's a statistic that everyone talks about, but nobody seems to have done much about. Since the beginning of NAFTA, there's been 90,000 plants and factories closed in this country. Think of that. 90,000 plants and factories have been closed in this country. Many of them have been car manufacturing plants. And that's a terrible statistic, and we'll be turning that around. You're going to see it already. We already have numerous that are being built or starting to be built, and numerous that were being built in other countries, and they stopped, and they're coming here now because of the tariffs. And that's a big deal. That's what you want to hear. During the last year, the Biden administration saw a loss of more than 110,000 manufacturing jobs, or 9,000 manufacturing jobs every single month. It averaged about 9,000 a month, 110,000 manufacturing jobs. During the first full month in office, we've not only stopped that manufacturing collapse, but we've begun to rapidly reverse it and get major gains. We created 10,000 manufacturing jobs in February alone. That hasn't happened in a long time. And these aren't government jobs, which actually we cut. These are private sector manufacturing jobs. So we gained all of those jobs, 10,000 jobs, and we barely started yet. That's a very unusual number. People are surprised by it. I'm even a little surprised. On auto jobs, we created almost 9,000 new jobs in the auto production field. And the reason for that is largely they think things are happening, so they're already geared up. In some cases, they had rooms in their plants, or they had empty plants that they were able to put into use quickly because they see because of the tariffs, they don't want to be dealing with other places, and they don't want to go back and forth and around and through the borders and across Mexico border and Canada border and all of, they want to have the jobs in one location. And they've had space, and if they had space, they were able to create the jobs almost immediately. In some cases, they'll be building plants to take care of those jobs. So we created 9,000 new jobs already in the auto production, auto parts manufacturing. So we want the auto parts ideally, and I think from a simplicity standpoint too, to be built and made in the United States. It's in a single month. That all took place in a single month, 9,000 new auto jobs. You haven't heard that in a long time. After auto workers lost more than 27,000 auto jobs in the final year of Biden. These are also high-paying jobs. These are very prime jobs. The ISM Manufacturing Survey and the S&P Manufacturing Survey have also confirmed that our administration is presiding over a brand new domestic manufacturing boom after major collapse under Biden. It was a collapse. All he did is keep adding new government jobs, which are not the jobs you want. We're trying to shrink government and grow the private sector. That's what we've been doing. Under the final 2 years of Biden, 1 in every 4 jobs created in America was a government job. That's a tremendous percentage. But under the first full month of President Trump, which we haven't even gotten started yet, an incredible 93% of all job gains were in the private sector. So that statistic just came out. Big gains for native-born Americans. For the first time in 15 months, the job gains for native-born Americans, for American people, people born in America, exceeded job gains for migrant and foreign-born workers. This is the first time that's happened in more than 15 months. Employment for native-born workers went up by 284,000, while foreign-born workers went down by 87,000. Now, you've heard the same stat where foreign workers were taking up all the jobs or almost all the jobs. In some cases, literally all of the jobs. And now it's 284,000 native-born jobs here, people born in our country, 284,000, while foreign-born workers went down by 87,000. First time that's happened in a long time. So these are incredible numbers, and they're very early. I mean, we're here for 5 weeks, but we have been talking about it since the big win in November 5th. So a lot of these people, they listen to us speak and they say, well, I'm going to gear up, and they're gearing up. And so they've been gearing up. They've had a little time. It's not just 5 weeks. It's 5 weeks plus a few months. And they put it into effect pretty quickly. They have confidence that what I'm saying is going to happen. So with that, I'd like to ask a highly respected gentleman, Kevin Hassett. He's been with us for a long time, and he's been right about a lot. We had the greatest economy in history in the first term, and Kevin was a big part of it. So Kevin, could you maybe give it a little description, please?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Trump. I think that the three things that you emphasized during the campaign is that you wanted to create domestic, high-paying manufacturing jobs, that you wanted to end wasteful government spending and reduce the unproductive government workers, and in fact unleash them into the private economy where they could be more productive, and to create jobs for Americans. A lot of people said that if you deported illegals, the employment would go down because no Americans would take those jobs. And if you look, 280,000 American-born folks were hired, manufacturing jobs are going up, and this is just out of the expectation of your future policies, really, sir. It's in April when your Reciprocal Trade Act is expected to happen. The tax cuts haven't passed yet. And so people are clearly expecting the golden age. And if you want to forecast the future numbers, everybody, just keep in mind that President Trump has already gotten us $1.7 trillion in commitments of new factories. And those haven't even happened yet. Those aren't even in the numbers. And so I expect this is going to be a glimpse of a golden age to come, sir.
Thank you very much. One other thing, in Canada, we find that they're charging us over 200% for dairy products. You know about that. And when I left, we had that well taken care of, but under Biden, they just kept raising it. Very difficult to deal with, the Canadian representatives. 250% for dairy products, tariff. So where do you hear that? You don't hear that. They have a tremendously high tariff. Give you the exact numbers in a little while coming out, on lumber. So they sell us lumber. They have a tremendous tariff. They make it impossible for us to sell lumber or dairy products into Canada, but our numbers are a tiny fraction of that, almost non-existent. And what we're doing is freeing up our forests from the environmental nonsense that they put on them, where you can't cut down a tree. And we have to cut down trees in order to build the firewalls. And those trees are sold, but we're freeing it up on an emergency basis because Canada has been ripping us off for years on tariffs for lumber and for dairy products. 250%, nobody ever talks about that. 250% tariff, which is taking advantage of our farmers, so that's not gonna happen anymore. They'll be met with the exact same tariff unless they drop it. And that's what reciprocal means. And we may do it as early as today, or we'll wait till Monday or Tuesday. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to charge the same thing. It's not fair. Never has been fair. And they've treated our farmers badly. Look, our country's been ripped off by everybody. That stops now. I had it stopped in my first term. And we're going to really stop it now because this has been very unfair. Our country, from an economic standpoint, a financial standpoint, and a trade standpoint, has been absolutely ripped off by almost every country in the world. Canada, Mexico, and then you just go right down the line. India charges us massive tariffs, massive. You can't even sell anything into India. It's almost restrictive. It is restrictive. We do very little business inside. They've agreed, by the way, they want to cut their tariffs way down now because somebody's finally exposing them for what they've done. And same thing with China, same thing with a lot of other countries. And the EU has been a terrible abuser of this country. I mean, the EU was formulated in order to take advantage of the United States, and they have taken it, but they're not taking advantage when I'm in charge. So sometimes you'll hear some negative things. It's always from outside countries. America will be very strong. And, if I'm a foreign country, they're going to do fine. But they can't do like they used to do because we're going to bring back our business into this country. We need it from a job standpoint. We need it from even just a psychological standpoint. Think of it, 90,000 factories are gone since the beginning of NAFTA. So we're not going to have that, and we're going to see them build it back. Now we've already had 5 major automobile companies first time you've heard this in a long time, since my first term, actually, where we were really rocking and rolling, and then Biden came in and he stopped everything, like such a stupid thing to do, not even a believable thing. But we have many auto plants now coming in. We have big chip plants. We have the biggest chip company in the world, most powerful, probably one of the most powerful companies in the world. Wouldn't you say, Kevin? And he's coming in and they're building one of the largest chip plants in the world. That'll be done in Arizona, mostly in Arizona. And that'll give us a big percentage. That one plant will give us a big percentage of the chip market, something we have very little of. You know, we used to have Intel, and Intel was run by a man named Andy Grove. And Andy Grove was a tough, smart guy. I used to read about him when I was a young man, and he did an incredible job. He really dominated the chip business. And then he died, and I guess they had a series of people that didn't know what the hell they were doing, and we gradually lost the chip business, and now it's almost exclusively in Taiwan. They stole it from us. They took it from us, and I don't blame them. I give them credit. I blame the people that were sitting in this seat because they allowed it to happen. We could have protected that so easily. But so we had the chip business, and now it's all in Taiwan, almost exclusive, a little bit in South Korea, but mostly in Taiwan. And it's very important. Everything you do, everything you touch is now about chips. The brake of a car, cars have chips all over the place. I was reading an article the other day where they talk about the brakes of a car are loaded up with chips. Who would think that a brake has a chip in it? But it's all about chips. So that was a big thing. And they'll be investing hundreds of billions of dollars in this country, and we'll be taking back a big, big portion of that industry. We have others coming in too. But a lot of car manufacturers are coming in, and they're coming in fast. And one of the reasons you see these numbers, and again, Kevin said it, and I said it a little bit, but the fact that they know I won the election, so after I was president-elect, they assumed that I was going to do what I said, because I do what I say. And so these numbers really reflect a lot of things that took place since November 5th, right? So, Kevin, thank you very much. Great job. Any questions?
Mr. President, how concerned are you that the large-scale federal government layoffs will weaken the labor market? How concerned are you?
The large-scale fentanyl what?
The federal government layoffs will impact the labor market, will weaken the labor market.
Oh. No, I think the labor market's going to be fantastic, but it's going to have high-paying manufacturing jobs as opposed to government jobs. We had too many people in government. You can't just do that. We had many too many. This is for 40 years. You know, this isn't just now. This built up and got worse and worse, and they just hire more and more people. You look at Department of Education, it seems like so many buildings I ride by, it says Department of Education. They're all over the place. And we don't even want it. We want the education to be given by the states. It'll be much better. It'll move us to the top of the list from the bottom of the list, and actually save us money. But it's too important to even talk about them. It'll save us a lot of money, but we don't want that. We want education to be given. So you go to Iowa and Indiana and Idaho and all these places, they're so well run. They're going to be producing education that will be the equivalent of, like Denmark is one, Norway, Sweden. Actually, China is one of the better in terms of education, and so we can't blame size anymore. You know, China has 1.4 billion people, but they're very high on the list. The one thing we're doing well on, we're number one on the list, is cost per pupil. We spend more money than any other country in the world by far. So I jokingly say the one thing we do well on is the cost. We spend more money, and yet we're toward the bottom of the list. Yeah.
Mr. President, I want to ask you, the joint address, millions of Americans watched your joint address earlier this week where you warned that there could be a little disturbance that Americans could feel as a function of these taxes, these tariffs. How much disturbance are you willing to accept in the near term as a function of that? And to set expectations, how long should Americans expect things to cost a bit more?
Well, so far, Peter, there hasn't been very much because these numbers are coming out. We're here for just a little over 4 weeks. And these are fantastic numbers. I was watching some of the reports this morning. They were surprised. There could be some disturbance, a little bit of disturbance. I solved a little bit of that because I have respect for our auto companies, and I gave them a little bit of a 1-month reprieve because it was unfair, although I'm sure they'll take advantage of it. I see they're driving a lot of cars into the U.S. to try and avoid the tariffs, and they're taking advantage of it a little bit. But They called me, they asked me, they said, could they have a little bit of help? And I decided, they're American companies, USMCA, and I let them have that. But this really kicks in, the reciprocals, kicks in on, let's see, I guess the 2nd. And I wanted it to be the 1st so badly, just didn't want to be on April Fool's Day. So I made it the 2nd. That's going to cost a lot of money. That one day is going to cost a lot of money, but that's okay. But I don't see it. I don't see anything. I see good reports. I think we're going to have good numbers from the beginning. Now, globalists won't love this because this brings jobs back to America. So if they're coming back to America, maybe you'll lose some in other parts of the world. But the other parts of the world have done very well, and they'll continue to do very well. But I think the United States is going to be doing record business. We'll bring a lot of those 90,000 factories that have been lost over the last number of years. It's been, it's hard to believe. 90,000, think of what 90,000 is. 90,000 plants and factories are gone. We're going to bring back many of those plants and factories.
One day the tariffs are on, the next day they're off. Right now the markets, as you know well, prefer stability. Are you done going forward with the pauses and the carve-outs? Is that it for those?
There'll always be changes and adjustments, and you can't just, I could have, for instance, told the American car companies, no, I'm not going to give you anything, and then you wouldn't have had to say, well, they're getting a little extra. It's just a little bit of a 1-month reprieve. They're very happy about what's happening. They won't have to go across borders, and you see the zigzag, and you have a fender made in Canada, you have something else made in Mexico. We don't want that. We want it made here. But there'll always be some modifications. I mean, if you have a wall in front of you, sometimes you have to go around the wall instead of through it. But I think very little. I think very little. On occasion, if we can do something, we want to help companies. We want to help companies create jobs. So I could have left that, and you wouldn't have had a minor change. Instead, I was asked by the real majors, the big majors, if they could do this, and I said, yeah, I'll do it. I want you to produce a lot of jobs. And numerous of the people, actually all of the people I spoke to have already been, they're very much on the way to already doing it. That's why you have auto jobs increase. And the man, I don't know him, Sean Fain, I don't know him, and I did great, as you know, with the auto workers, with the Teamsters, with unions, I did fantastically well. Best numbers ever by a Republican. And I have a lot of respect for those people. But Sean Fain, who I don't know, but wasn't a supporter, although the auto workers were big supporters. I watched him last night, and he said, Donald Trump is absolutely right on tariffs. He said, what he's doing on tariffs is an incredible thing. And it's about time somebody had the guts to do it, because we're going to save auto manufacturing. And I said to people when I was campaigning, you're going to have so many auto jobs, you're not going to believe what's going to happen. We're going to load up Michigan. I won the state of Michigan, as you know. And part of the reason I won it was I got a lot of auto workers that voted for me, Detroit, etc. But I think people are going to be very surprised. Yes?
Thank you, Mr. President. You mentioned in your remarks chips manufacturing, how a significant percentage is now in Taiwan. You also mentioned it in your address to Congress, and you called on Congress to overturn the CHIPS Act, which had bipartisan support in the last Congress. Why would you like to see this particular law overturned, Mr. President?
Because it's hundreds of billions of dollars, and it's just a waste of money. Now, some people have already taken the money and used it. Actually, it's very hard to qualify, because they go by race, they go by gender, they go by all sorts of things. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. You won't be able to find those people. So I don't even think anybody can qualify. They have so many different categories. In order to qualify, you have to have so many of a certain race, a certain gender, a certain this, a certain, and I don't think they can qualify, but if they take the money, they better qualify, because they'll be watching them. But it's a tremendous waste of money. I didn't give the greatest chip company in the world, one of the greatest companies, I didn't give them 10 cents. They came here because of tariffs, because they didn't want to pay the tariffs. And they also came here because they like the results of the election, because they know that I'm very pro-business and pro-jobs. I mean, I'm pro-business, not for business sake. I'm pro-business because of jobs, because business is producing the jobs. Okay?
On Russia, if I may, President Putin is bombing Ukraine.
Yeah.
Do you still believe him when he tells you that he wants peace?
You know, I believe him. I believe him. I think we're doing very well with Russia. But right now they're bombing the hell out of Ukraine, and I'm finding it more difficult, frankly, to deal with Ukraine. And they don't have the cards. They don't have the cards. As you know, we're meeting in Saudi Arabia on sometime next week, early. And we're talking, I find that in terms of getting a final settlement, it may be easier dealing with Russia, which is surprising because they have all the cards. I mean, they're bombing the hell out of them right now. And I put a statement in, a very strong statement. Can't do that. You can't do that.
Mr. President.
We're trying to help them. And Ukraine has to get on the ball and get a job done. Michael, could you come up here? I see Michael back there. Good, I'm glad. He's traveling all over the world. I just saw him come in the door. Could you give a little definition of what's going on, please?
Sure. Well, the president has been crystal clear, and he's been clear to all sides. The fighting has to stop. Both sides need to get to the table. We had a good engagement. Both leaders have said only President Trump could do so, and only he has been able to do so. We had an initial engagement with the Russians. The Ukrainians had a great opportunity to bind our economies together through that mineral deal. Unfortunately, that didn't go so well, but we think we're going to get things back on track. Secretary Rubio, myself and the Ukrainian delegation will be meeting in Saudi Arabia next week to get these talks back on track, get a ceasefire in place, and drive peace home under President Trump's leadership.
I think both parties want to settle. I think if I wasn't president, this war would have had no chance of settlement, zero chance. But I think we're going to get it settled and stopped. We got to stop. They're losing on average 2,000 soldiers a week. That's a lot of soldiers. Do you agree, Peter?
It's a lot of soldiers on both sides, I agree. Do you, Mr. President, think that Vladimir Putin is taking advantage of the U.S. pause right now on intelligence and military aid to Ukraine?
No, I actually think he's doing what anybody else would do. I think he wants to get it stopped and settled, and I think he's hitting them harder than he's been hitting them. And I think probably anybody in that position would be doing that right now. He wants to get it ended, and I think Ukraine wants to get it ended, but I don't see, it's crazy. They're taking tremendous punishment. I don't quite get it, but I suspect, Michael, he probably wants to get it ended.
He does, Mr. President. The Russians are taking incredible losses on the front. As the president has said, this is a meat grinder of people, of material, of national treasure, and no one else has any solutions except to let this war continue forever. But I'll add, the president has had multiple conversations and a visit from President Macron of France, Prime Minister Starmer of the United Kingdom. We have the NATO Secretary General coming next week. We have this meeting with the Ukrainians. We've had it with the Russians. All of this in the president's first month in his leadership. We will engage in the shuttle diplomacy, and we will continue to use his leadership and what leverage we have to get both sides of the peace table. It's not going to be easy, but President Trump...
This war should have never happened. It would have never happened if I were president, but it did happen. So a lot of other things shouldn't have happened, too. We shouldn't have 21 million people pouring into our country through open borders, many of whom are criminals, very bad criminals, including murderers, thousands of murderers. Many killed, far more than one person, and they're roaming our streets. But Tom Homan and Kristi Noem are doing an incredible job, and we're getting them out of here. And we'll get them out. We'll get them all out. But all these things shouldn't have happened. We shouldn't have inflation. We shouldn't have had this horrible inflation where the prices have gone up. Look at eggs. So we're doing a good job. We're doing a good job.
Mr. President, in regards to the pause on military assistance to Ukraine, you put out on your social media post today that Russia is pounding Ukraine.
That's right.
Why not provide Ukraine with air defenses? And what happens, Mr. President, when Ukraine runs out of the Patriot missile batteries?
Good question. Because I have to know that they want to settle. I don't know that they want to settle. If they don't want to settle, we're out of there because we want them to settle. And I'm doing it to stop death, more important than anything else. Secondarily, way down the line is the money. So we're in for $350 billion, and Europe is in for $100 billion. They should be in for the same or more than us. And, you know, I watched over the last week or so, what's going on in Europe. This thing could end up in World War III if we don't get it settled. This could really end up in a World War III. We got to get it settled.
So on Iran, how confident are you that the Iranians will negotiate with you? And is Israel on board with this outrage?
Yeah, I saw the hostages the other day. They came in, people that were not young, some young and some older, much older. And they gave, it was hard for them to do it actually. They gave statements as to what happened. I was asking, what happened? How was it? I said, did you see anybody in there that was kind, like out of the hundreds of people that you were seeing, Hamas? Did some of them wink at you and say, don't worry, you're going to be okay, or give you a piece of bread, or no? I said, were there any people that were like kind? I was shocked. The answer was nobody. There was nobody. Just the opposite. They'd be slapped and punched. One man broke his ribs. He couldn't breathe for a month. It was brutal. I was so surprised. Could you think there'd be a couple of people that would be kind, that would say, you're going to be okay, but they had none of that. It's pretty amazing. Brian?
Thank you, Mr. President.
He's a kind person.
Well, according to
Although not to Zelensky, he wasn't.
Well, you know what, that's another
But to Trump, he's been good.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brian.
Nice tie, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. I like yours too.
Two questions. One on peace. Why don't you think any other European countries are offering a peace deal? It seems like no one's come to the table for peace except for you.
Yeah. It's a very good question. Sometimes questions aren't answerable. They're in a very unusual position. They don't know how to end the war. I think I do know how to end the war. Despite the Russia hoax, I've always had a good relationship with Putin. And, you know, he wants to end the war. He wants to end it. And I think he's going to be more generous than he has to be. And that's pretty good. That means a lot of good things. Because frankly, you could have made a great deal if this war never started, you could have made a great deal. I don't know that anything would have had to be given up. This was not a war that was going to start, Brian. And it didn't start. For 4 years, somebody said, well, how do we know that? Well, for 4 years, it didn't start. I used to speak to Vladimir about it. I used to speak to him about it at length. It was the apple of his eye, but there was no way he was going in. And he knew, there were going to be consequences. But it did start. I mean, think of what happened. Inflation, you have the war with Ukraine and Russia, that wouldn't have happened. October 7th would have never happened. Israel, they had no money. Iran had no money. Iran was stone cold broke, and now they have a lot of money. But then that's going to be the next thing you'll be talking about is Iran. What's going to happen with Iran? And there'll be some interesting days ahead. That's all I can tell you. You know, we're down to final strokes with Iran. That's going to be an interesting time. And we'll see what happens. But we're down to the final moments. We're at final moments. Can't let them have a nuclear weapon. I think that I would have had a deal within 1 month after the rigged election of 2020. They were all set to make a deal. And then when I lost, they saw this person who's a stupid person, very stupid person. And they said, let's not make a deal. And they were right. He took the sanctions off. They became rich under Biden. They went from having no money to having $300 billion. All in a short period. It's oil. Oil builds up fast. It's a nice living if you have a nice oil well. And they do. They have a lot of nice oil wells, right? So anyway, it's going to be a big thing. It's an interesting time in the history of the world. But we have a situation with Iran that something's going to happen very soon. Very, very soon. You'll be talking about that pretty soon, I guess. And hopefully we can have a peace deal. You know, I'm not speaking out of strength or weakness. I'm just saying I'd rather see a peace deal than the other. But the other will solve the problem.
Mr. President, your allies are calling on you to pardon Derek Chauvin. Are you considering pardoning Derek Chauvin?
No, I haven't even heard about it. No.
Mr. President, on peace.
I haven't heard that.
In the first term, you may recall, I broke the news that you were nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. And the reason for that was the work that you led on the Abraham Accords. I spoke yesterday with the member of parliament, the Norwegian parliament, that nominated you. And he said what the Nobel Committee is looking for from you, Mr. President, is security guarantees for Ukraine. Is that a possibility, Mr. President?
So before I even think about that, I want to settle the war, get it finished. Because if I'm not here, nobody's going to settle it. And President Macron has said that, and everybody said that. The prime ministers and presidents. We're pushing very hard. That's all I'm thinking about now. As far as the question about security later, that's the easy part. The hard part is getting it settled. We got to get them. We're losing 2,000 human beings every week. More than that, actually. 2,000 nice, young, although they're getting older because they're drafting much older now. In the case of one country, much older, because a lot of the young people have been killed. It's very sad, and I'd like to see if I could stop that. And I'd like to also see if we could stop making these massive payments from the United States. I mean, Biden gave away money like it was water, with no anything, got nothing for it. Europe did it in the form of a loan. They get their money back, we don't. So that's how we came up with the rare earth deal. But we started, behind the 8 ball. He could have gone to Europe. He could have said, "Come on, you got to put up money with us. You got to put up money with us." But he never did that. They just kept handing money out because he was grossly incompetent. All right, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Isn't it amazing? Isn't it the most single, transparent administration in American history? Mike Waltz, friend of the show, just wanders into the White House and Trump's like, "Yo, homie, come on over here. I get to talk about," what's that thing? It's on the tip of my tongue. Ukraine. Tell the people about it. You just got back from there. Tell them about Ukraine and Russia. It's amazing. It's so exciting to watch. We were the only people covering that live. It's amazing. Fox News didn't even take that live. I find these things, you will find this on our channel, that we are prepared and ready to just bring you these insights because we've been starved for them. We're ravenous to actually see how your government operates and to hear directly from the people making these decisions. So you bring in an economics advisor, you bring in the man who's in charge of the NSC, who's negotiating all of this, who's flying in to negotiate Ukraine, Russia. You don't have to guess anymore. It's really special. It's an incredible moment. We want to capture it. We want to grab it with both hands here on this channel, your front seat to the golden era. And in, obviously, that same spirit, we're deeply thankful that the Secretary of Veterans Affairs, ladies and gentlemen, will be joining our program live right now. His name is Doug Collins. He's an Air Force colonel. He served his country in wartime. He's an absolute total patriot. And ladies and gentlemen, he's in charge of one of the most important aspects of American life, which is making sure that our veterans are taken care of. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us right now, the Secretary of Veteran Affairs, Doug Collins. Mr. Secretary, I appreciate you holding on for a second for your boss, who is sometimes unpredictable when he's going to go live from the Oval Office.
I love it. Look, I've learned a long time ago. I've known him for a long time. You do when the boss is on a roll, you let the boss be on a roll because he's doing his thing. And look, he's infiltrated. I think the entire administration this way. And I think this is something that's really interesting for me as we're going out and doing this. We're making sure that we're getting our information out there as best we can, and we're taking our lead from the president. The president has done this, and he's doing it. And it's interesting, Benny. You've been watching this for a long time. The press don't know what to do. And if I've never seen the press at a loss for words, but it's pretty soon they just get tired of asking questions, and it's just like, I got to go do something else.
Right? We can't stand this much transparency. We can't take it anymore.
No,
so I guess he warned us. I guess the man warned us. He said, "You're gonna get sick of winning. You're gonna get so tired of winning. You say you can't take it."
Yep, I agree. Well, and I think that's what. But that's what the American people want. I mean, look, we're all going to disagree. And I think that's the beauty of our system is we disagree even among friends and especially among, political ideological differences. But at the same point in time, let's just put the information out there. Let's get back to a country, in which we have public debates. I mean, think about where we come from. For those of us on the right, we've all been saying, get back to our basics. Well, we had long debates. We had, spirited debates because we understood that was what was the fabric of our country. It's who we are. Americans, we come together as Americans. And I think that's the part that we need to have. And he's got a cabinet that's assembled, and I've been privileged to be a part of from his perspective of folks that I know, like Mike Wallace. Mike and I served together in the House, and we had time together a lot. He's a dear friend. We know each other. If we pick up the phone, I can pick up phone call Lee Zeldin. I can call Bobby Kennedy. I can call Pete Hedges. We all know each other, and that's what's helping us drive this generational change in Washington, D.C. right now.
Yeah, I mean, it really does seem like there is so much good energy. And this is the one thing that we hear when we speak with your colleagues. We've done interviews with Zeldin and Tulsi and Kristi Noem this week. And we're so honored to have you on the program. We appreciate you waiting for the end of this press conference. Everybody says we are a tightly bound ship and that we are ready to roll as a unit. And that's how you actually win wars, as a unit. And getting rid of some of the policies and some of the people that held you back, I think, is very important. This is why we're huge supporters of DOJ. We're huge supporters of what you've done in the VA by getting rid of the DEI policies. There's also staffing reorganization happening right now within Veterans Affairs. Can you tell us about that?
I'd love to, Benny. And this is where this is why I love coming on these shows, because I get a few minutes to talk about it without the, basically, unfortunately, the other side making veterans and veteran VA employees feel scared or afraid. We're doing something that is designed to do, I know this is going to come as a shocking establishment here, to actually make things better for the veteran. For years, everybody, but it's become the parlor game of Washington, D.C. Let's complain about the VA. The VA is broken. The VA is not working. The VSOs will even jump in. The VSA is broken. And it's sort of amazing. I've came in and started asking questions about, let's fix it. And the very ones who say to me, Doug, you got to go to Washington and fix the VA. We got to take care of the veterans. So what do? I put veterans first at the VA. I start making changes to get us to that point. And now the same people are saying, oh, I'm not sure about changes. I'm not sure. Folks, you can't have it both ways. I'm just putting everybody on notice. As me being secretary and the wonderful employees we have here at the VA, we're not going to be the whipping post anymore. We're going to come to you with solutions to the American people, to this administration, and to the Congress, and say, these are solutions. We're not going to be simply saying, give us money, give us people, and no real plan. We're going to have a plan for veterans.
Mm-hmm. So we've seen VA dismisses more than 1,000 employees. Can you tell us about these dismissals, Mr.
Yeah, we did. In fact, it was about 2,400 probationary employees, and we looked through, this was as we got direction from OPM at the time, looking ahead to saying, okay, what is our staffing levels? Here's some numbers. I like to talk about numbers because it puts things in perspective for people. 2,400 is a lot of people, and I take every one of those seriously. I've been on both sides. I've been hired and I've been fired. It's not, those are tough things, and I've actually had to do the firing as well. But I take it very seriously. But we've got to understand something here. The VA under the Biden administration grew by $130 billion and 80,000 employees. Did you catch those numbers? 130 billion or more and about 80,000 employees. Now, here's the interesting part. Under the Trump administration, we were down to about 40,000 backlog on benefits. When I got here, it was over 250,000 in benefits backlog. We're still seeing those issues. It just doesn't show that money and people are always the answer. So the best is, how do we make it work right? So these are folks that were let go in an initial round, non-mission critical. In other words, they didn't face a veteran. They wasn't giving health care. If I hear another Democratic senator say we fired doctors and nurses, please just come up. They use their own bingo cards and say, you're lying. I mean, because it's just not true. We protected 300,000 plus employees to make it better for the veteran.
So what about this employee? According to Pentagon reporter Grace Chong, there is no portrait of Donald Trump hanging currently in the VA in Portland. What's going on there, Mr. Secretary?
Well, and part of that is we're getting it all out. Some of them can be a little more creative because, by the way, the president's picture, the vice president's picture, and my picture, they can pick up online and actually have a little color printer. It's an amazing thing that happens. And they can put in the thing until we get them the real picture, which is coming by the end of the month. But I will assure you, in Portland, there will be the picture of our president, 45 and 47, will be in the Portland VA.
All right. Okay. Have you been seeing a little bit of this? Have you seen, obviously, some institutional pushback here?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, look, there's an old saying, motion causes friction. So, you know, if you're moving and you're doing things, you're going to have friction. And look, we're seeing it internally. You know, my background is people, pastoring. I'm chaplain. I've been in the military. I'm an attorney. And the one thing I do not accept anymore at the VA is we've always done it that way before. Yeah, and the issue for me is also I ask questions to get to a different answer. And it's amazing how sometimes we just haven't thought outside our little bureaucratic box. So we're working in that. Some people, it's very difficult. I'm trying my best to encourage them. For an example, we've had an issue with like purchase cards, and we're making sure that we've had way too many purchase cards and travel cards in this department. And we're now asking the question, but we have to use purchase card, Benny, and we use a lot of money on purchase cards, these credit cards, because our purchasing system and contracting system doesn't allow us to move as nimbly as we need to provide surgical materials, prosthetics, and these things. So I've just basically said, don't look at this as, oh, we're losing our cards. No, look at this as a chance to fix the system. We've gotten too used to maybe using the sling instead of saying, hey, maybe we use some therapy to start using muscles we've never used before.
Yes. So this friction is being caused right now, something that President Trump talked about just a moment ago at the White House, with some major issues and some major wars throughout the world. And I'm sure you've been paying attention, of course, with what's going on in Ukraine as a veteran yourself and somebody who served in a war zone. It's no fun. I assume that you would want this war to come to an end. As an American taxpayer, I am disgusted at the number of veterans who are homeless in this country. The data ranges between 30,000 to 50,000 homeless veterans who serve this nation and who's come home and for whatever reason are living on the streets right now. And we've spent billions in Ukraine, Mr. Secretary, and yet we have 50,000 homeless veterans in this country. And I find that abominable as an American taxpayer.
Yeah, well, you're not the only one. I have three main points that I've told all our priorities here. First is getting veterans, getting the services on a timely and efficient fashion. That's what we got to have. We got to have a system in place at the VA in which we're performing as best employees we can. And really also homelessness and suicide are two of my personal pet projects, if you would, because I see this as something that is just not acceptable. But I got some news for you on this. Not only have we spent billions in Ukraine, we spent almost, if you just show the numbers, we spent almost $15 billion supposedly on homelessness through the VA in the last 5 years. And it's still the number you talked about 40,000 people. My question is, this is where that question comes to mind that I've sat around the table and said, quit bringing me the same solutions. Quit bringing me the same answers. Well, we're going to put $3 more billion into it. Well, what is that $3 billion buying us? Because right now, if I took all 40,000 people, and I'm being hyperbole here, but I could take 40,000 people and take $3 billion and build them all a nice house. I mean, what are we spending this for? And what is our long-term investment? So, Benny, the American people need to know that really what is needed in Washington, D.C. is an effective question answer session that says, what have we done? What is the result? And should we be getting a better result? This is the question every family has to answer. It's the question every private individual has to answer and private business has to answer. But government, because in this 10-mile little circle up here, we're accounting for 25% of the economy, that we just don't think we have to do that. So I'm with you. That's why I'm on your show. That's why I'm going to be on other shows where people that we can reach out to a veteran who needs to get some help. If we can help them get their job skills, get over maybe some addiction issues, get these things, and then put them into places that they can have a permanent roof over their head, and also with their families, put them back together. That's what we're going to do. I believe $3 billion is in spending that year over year and you're getting a little bit of a decrease, but not enough is not acceptable. And suicide is the exact same problem, Benny. I can't tell you how frustrated that is to me.
Yes. It's clearly we have so many problems here at home, ranging from the VA, which is like a running joke, right, inside of the military community, how poorly run the VA is. And just on that note, because I have service members in my family, and my wife actually used to work for the VA. She's a nurse, and she worked at a VSO. the constant debate, like, would the system be better privatized?
No, I don't think it would be, and I'll tell you why. There's certain areas, and I get the argument here, but I'm also understanding that VA care is VA care whether it's delivered. And here's what's not happening in the institution themselves or outside in the community. Here's what's happened. Donald Trump, and I was in Congress during this time, we led the way with the Mission Act. We said, okay, veterans, if you're not getting the care that you need in the VA, or you can get it better served in your local communities, then we're going to allow you to go into the community and get that care. We'll still have the high standards and get it. What we found out and what we're finding more of, and I'll love to tell you about this in weeks to come, is we're finding out that the previous administration basically chose to ignore that condition, and that we were stifling community care. We were stifling it because we wanted to build, all else I can say is sort of a fiefdom in our healthcare facilities. So look, we've got a balance that can work, because there's also some that your family members will know that are unique to us as military members. There's some uniqueness to our injuries, uniqueness to our conditions and qualifications that frankly the Congress has built into statute. So we're going to have that ability, but there needs to be much more of a flexible nature of our system so that every veteran, no matter what generation they come out of, they're getting the care that best suits them. And also, I have to also say this in defense too. I'm also one that we're going to push harder on community care, but we've also, Benny, for all the listeners out there who are thinking about what career to go into, our health and allied health communities, nurses, doctors, pharmacists, they're having the same issues in the community as well. So to just simply all of a sudden dump 9 million veterans into a system in private healthcare that is struggling in some of those areas is frankly a hard row there to talk about. It's something that needs to be discussed, but I think we got a balance if we use our community care properly.
All right. So balance is, zooming out here, something that we try and do on this program, but we fail all the time because we just couldn't believe how excited we were 1 week ago to watch this moment in the White House when President Trump absolutely bodies Zelensky in the Oval Office and said, stop, you're being disrespectful to us, our country. You're being disrespectful to my administration. I'm sure as a veteran, you felt this. As a warfighter, you felt this. And you're taking, you don't have the cards. You're taking many people's lives at risk. I just want to, since this has sort of a tangential element for military, and obviously we don't want to see American boots on the ground in Ukraine. We don't want this to spiral in World War III. Just wanted to get your take on this. I'm sure you were watching this along with everybody else. Got to have an interesting perspective.
Yeah, it was an amazing moment. And I think here, anybody who's been to war understands that we don't need this. This is the war is the result of the last result of bad policy, and I think we got to get to that understanding. And so it's time to bring an end to this and what I'm respectful of the president to do is putting people to the table. But Benny, one of the questions here, and again, when you look at it, Ukraine and Russia, I take it from what I do. There are people in Ukraine and Russia that now have the veteran side if they're going to take care of these who've been at war. And we're just continually adding body count and mutilation count and everything up, that this cost will go on many years past. President Trump sees that. President Trump sees this destruction and says, we got to fix this. But I was proud that he sat there. But it also bothered me, and very frankly, when Zelensky brought up the fact you're protected by a sea, and yes, it will come to you soon or eventually, basically was his implication.
Yes.
I don't think I would be sitting there in the middle of a battle and all of a sudden you threaten America that the reason you're in the position you are is simply because of oceans and simply because nobody's come over here before. That was offensive.
Yes. What's your message to Zelensky?
I think at this point he needs to come to the table. He needs to come to the table. Putin needs to come to the table. They need to get this thing solved. And the world needs to understand that this is not acceptable. And I think the president's providing that direction.
Good. Very, very quickly here, Mr. Secretary, and we really appreciate your time. This has been a fantastic conversation. You were the designated survivor this week with the president's joint address to Congress. Can you speak to what that's like? And that's a pretty unique and interesting position to be in. Do you get taken into a bunker somewhere deep inside of a mountainside? Are you like flying in a SpaceX in orbit? And then a follow-up to that, what is we've seen assassination attempts on President Trump, quite a few of them, actually. It's like quite scary. And we live inside of a huge threat environment right now because the world is changing so rapidly, and there's a lot of people who don't want it to change. It seems to be quite a power structure, threat assessment, right? So being the designated survivor has potentially a different meaning right now in this moment.
Yeah, the president and the executive branch have the responsibility for continuity of government under any situation, and that's not something that I'm going to comment on.
Okay, all right. And the assassination attempts of President Trump. Any insider knowledge into that?
I've watched everything as well, and it's amazing to me that, especially seemingly the Butler situation, the situation and other. Look, again, when you bring generational change into something, you bring change in a different perspective in which you have people now actually, believing our country is going to move away from a direction in which you've had a dominance of people who believe that the differences and the dividing is good and that government is the only thing that can bring us together. And when you have somebody who believes in our country and our flag and believes in everybody, no matter what background, color of their skin, religion, when he believes that this country is based on America and being America first, as he always says, then, some people just can't stand that. And that has moved us into a very dangerous position in which people have forgotten how to do what we're doing here and conversate and make sure that we're actually taking our views and expounding on them and finding ways to come under that one flag, the American flag, as Americans.
I hope they release the report. A lot of unanswered questions, man. And I don't like people being able to take shots at our president, whether it's Zelensky or whether it's an assassin, right? So God bless you. You serve in such an important role. Everybody needs to go follow the secretary right here, ladies and gentlemen. 600,000 Americans already follow along. Give the man who's protecting our veterans some extra strength and energy and capacity to reach us. And it's been an honor having you on the show, Mr. Secretary.
Benny's good. I look forward to coming back.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, because of the delay today, we had these incredible guests. We have to go to Garrett Ziegler of the Marco Polo Foundation. This is, somebody who's just obviously we're massive fans of, and we have a hard out with him. So we're going to hop over to Garrett. Let's go right now live to Garrett Ziegler, who just won, and we'll talk about it in a moment. Garrett, you beautiful man, you. This is like your third or fourth time on the program. We have always been a massive fan of yours. You published the full Hunter Biden laptop, for those of you who don't know, at the founder of the Marco. There it is. And now you have, I guess, won your lawsuit. The Hunter Biden sued you for publishing for publishing the contents of this laptop that are his. And now Hunter Biden is arguing in court that he can no longer continue that lawsuit. So where does that stand?
Well, thanks for having me on, and I am always willing to wait for DJT. So anybody else in the world, I have all the patience in the world for him, because I think his back and forth with the press is so important, considering Joe never did that. So Hunter, Joe's son, wants to cry uncle, and he wants to cry uncle because we noticed a deposition upon him and his sugar brother, Kevin Morris, who has lent him $7 million as sort of an in-kind campaign contribution to Joe. He's wanting to dismiss the lawsuit in a way that is horrible for us. So we're not litigious people, our group. So he sued me and the nonprofit Marco Polo, but he's wanting to dismiss it without prejudice, which in non-legalese means whenever he gets a new sugar brother or a new patron, he can just bring the case again. Of course, any sane defendant would not agree to such conditions because we would be prejudiced by that. We don't want to have to deal with this. I want to move on with my life and maybe go help the government. So this is in the judge's hands now. We filed a response to his, what's called an ex parte application, which means we only had 24 hours to respond. Ex parte, again, a non-legalese is just emergency. He filed this emergency motion on Wednesday. We had until 3 p.m. yesterday to respond to it. And we have like 4 arguments, which is there's no emergency going on. The real reason is that he doesn't want to sit for a deposition and be deposed by me or Kevin Morris, his sugar brother. And number 3, if this goes forward, we are going to be able to get discovery that he thought he would just be able to run out the clock. So we have a fact discovery. I know I'm getting in the weeds, but the case isn't technically dismissed yet because we told the judge, if you are going to grant Hunter's motion, we want our legal fees reimbursed, which for this case alone is $197,000. And now his sugar brother sued me in the nonprofit in state court. That one's $200,000. So I make this offer to Hunter publicly. If he wants to get rid of this, we will agree to a dismissal with prejudice, meaning he can't bring the case again, and that he reimburses our legal fees, which right now are about $397,000. And again, we're a nonprofit with a total budget of like $600K, Benny. So that means that half of our income, half of our donations have been fighting this man-child, this Peter Pan-like figure. He turned 55 last month, and everybody talks about him like he's a 22-year-old college sophomore sowing his wild oats. This guy's a man-child. So our demands are very reasonable. All we want is dismissal with prejudice so that Hunter can stop legally harassing me. Very reasonable. I think all of our donors, all of our grassroots donors understand why we're doing this. We don't want to continue this lawfare, but if the judge grants Hunter's request, Hunter will be doing essentially, I'm not a golfer, but it's essentially a legal mulligan, right? Hunter wants a mulligan because he doesn't want to suffer a depot. And he's saying that the fires are a convenient excuse for him to get out of this. Now, anybody who lost their house is rightfully sad and it's a tragedy, right? But Hunter didn't own the house, Benny. It was a rental. Yeah. So he doesn't even have to deal with the insurance claim. You and I, real adults, right, with mortgages maybe and home insurance claims, that's what Hunter doesn't have to deal with because he's a Biden. And as Joe said on a hot mic to the mayor of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, nobody F's with a Biden. So normal things like homeowners policies, Hunter doesn't have to deal with that. That's for the little people, the hoi polloi. So we're not going to lay over and die this easily. We want our fees reimbursed and for Kevin Morris and Hunter Biden to shut up about me. They put in their papers yesterday that I hacked his iCloud. Benny, I know this is a soliloquy, but this is my last statement. I can't even hack an iCloud if I tried. You know why? Because I can't do it. I'm not technically proficient. I can write and I have a BA in economics. If I'm guilty of what Hunter is accusing me of, Apple would pay me like a $10 million bounty because they pay that much to patch bugs in their system. I can't hack an iCloud. That's preposterous. We got a standalone hard drive of his corruption, drugs, and business deals and put it into a report. Nothing was connected to the internet. They sued us under a criminal statute, the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. I'm not a hacker, man. It's all bogus.
The FBI, in a moment of absolute shock, walked up in his trial in Delaware and held up the Hunter Biden laptop.
True.
And said, not only is this evidence that we're going to enter into the court, it's all true, and we've had it since 2018. And thus, effectively destroying any argument that Hunter might have that you hacked anything or stole anything, because the FBI has the damn laptop.
Precisely. For me to be guilty of what he's accusing me of, and again, he's asking for millions of dollars. His sugar brother is suing me for $60 million. I've had this albatross, this man-child over my neck for 22 months now. He's asking $60 million for something that I just did that everybody had. The New York Post had this, the Daily Mail. We have a malicious prosecution claim against Hunter. He's lucky I'm not litigious because they're suing us for something that all these other people did.
These bastards need to be, hit back a little bit.
Well, I'll leave that to somebody else because
over, right?
I love my attorney, but in general, I hate lawyers. So I want to spend a little amount of time as possible dealing with this because I want to move on. Because again, Hunter is not the reason why we were interested in this case. I know he's on the cover of the book. But the reason why it's called the Biden laptop, and everybody can go read this for free. You don't have to buy this, although we would like you to. The book is free, bidenreport.com, bidenreport.com. But the reason why it's called the Biden Report is because our interest lies in Joe. Our interest lies in the dad, not the son. This was all a RICO operation to funnel cash to Joe. And if anybody doubts that Joe's a bad father, Why is he letting his son humiliate himself like this? Joe has a beach house in Rehoboth Beach. I just looked up the Realtor.com listing, 4.1 million, Benny. Why doesn't Joe liquidate that and pay for his son if he's such a good dad? You and I are fathers. If my son, I would never let my son humiliate himself like this. I'd liquidate the beach house.
Yes. So can we unpack that? I know that you're up against a hard out, but
No,
just
yeah.
really quickly here. Like, this was a criminal case against Joe Biden.
Precisely.
This investigation is Joe Biden. Obviously, clearly, you call him a man-child, and I just have to put this up. I have to put this up. Here he is doing what I have like a 2-year-old, right? First off, she paints better than this, and
Yeah.
second off, like he's doing like a little. He's in his 50s here, and he's doing like what you would do in art class in preschool.
Yes.
He is truly a man-child. He has no discernible talents, no discernible skill. He squandered and lit everything on fire, lied to his family. He's the biggest scumbag on earth. And Joe Biden decided to run for president while his kid's addicted to crack. Not only one kid, but the three adult children addicted to crack cocaine with suicidality, according to their own writings.
Yes.
And Joe Biden decides to run for president in that environment. The hardest thing you can do. What does this say about Joe Biden? And then secondarily, Garrett, what should happen to Joe Biden? Would you be in favor of a proper investigation into Joe Biden?
Second question first, absolutely. And I think that the number one thing that needs to be probed is justice has to be done. And how you do that is test the legality. I personally think he has a good argument for the blanket pardons, but there are more articulate people than me that say if you do not specify which crimes you're getting pardoned for, they don't hold up in court. Remember, the pardon that Ford gave to Nixon went unchallenged, meaning it's never been tested before. I would love SCOTUS to weigh in on this. I would love for there to be a SCOTUS case on Biden v. U.S. and for us to be able to dig into precisely which crimes Joe said he's pardoning Hunter for. Now, he did do the 2 cases, one in Central District of California and one in the District of Delaware. But all of this uncharged conduct from 2014 on, I wonder what that is. Well, you can go find it in BidenReport.com, at least 85% of it. But the other 15% that we don't know about because we're not the feds, I would love for that to be litigated in SCOTUS and for Joe to have to answer for his official act. Because remember, they're Margaret Wheeler and all these other paid propagandists for Hunter are very interested in the line of official acts, because that's what the SCOTUS decision in Trump v. U.S. was about. What is an official act? Would love for Joe to have to testify about his official act of pardoning his son and have to specify with granularity about which crimes he pardoned him for. Hasn't been tested. I think it'd be a great thing to litigate.
Joe wasn't president. Final question. Joe wasn't president when many of these crimes were taking place. You have them detailed in the laptop. Joe wasn't vice president either, but there's no vice presidential immunity ruling. There's just a presidential immunity. So presumably you really could crack open a criminal case on Joe Biden, yes?
Yes, and with somebody like, you have millions of viewers, obviously, and I would be remiss if I didn't bring up that even if the feds are cowardly, we need to look into state AGs. I used to talk to Landry in Louisiana, but also there's crimes in Arkansas. Hunter's financial advisor in Arkansas, Edward Pruitt, his old one, lives in Fayetteville. So what does that mean? That means every single wire transfer that touched Edward Pruitt, the Arkansas AG has jurisdiction over that. And the left discovered this cheat code in New York, meaning even if Trump is president, he arguably can't pardon himself for the ridiculous New York case. So AGs really need to look hard and investigate Hunter on the state level crimes because his daddy didn't protect him there.
Wow. Okay, so that's how they could actually end around and get past.
Yeah, that's the only way. And some of those are running out of statute of limitations time. So if you have the AG of Arkansas on, put him in the hot seat, because I can't effectuate that. I can just this is, by the way, we have no delusions. We don't think this is going to be, although it has been a trial exhibit, we don't expect the prosecutors to hold this up in court. All this is a roadmap. This thing is a roadmap for subpoena issuing. If you want to know who to subpoena for which time periods and what to gather, that's what this book is for. And so they have the statutory authority and they should use it.
They ran a massive fraud here in the state of Florida, and it pisses us off so much, and we keep asking, and we hit brick walls with the Attorney General here. Like we cannot get anybody to say, yeah, sure, why not? Like open up a criminal investigation into the Bidens.
Yeah.
Thank you, Garrett.
Thank you for your time. Thanks for having me on.
Our time is short. Let's do it again.
Let's do it again after the judge decides.
Yes, that's exactly right. Everybody go follow Marco Polo. 217,000 followers. Garrett Ziegler, an absolute patriot and fearless, brave man. Godspeed, sir.
Thank you for having me on.
What a absolutely wild time. We thought we'd have a ton more time, ladies and gentlemen, to develop all of this and to talk through all of this, but at time of recording, we punch the live button, and then ALX comes over the top, and he goes, "Yo, Trump's gonna be live." so there goes 30 minutes, and we were thrilled to watch it. But what it does is it throws off some of the order of the show, and so we're thankful for both of our guests to be able to stay on, if even in truncated form. The secretary that marks 4 of Trump's secretaries that have been on the program in 3 days, which is awesome. Brooks Rollins, Secretary of Agriculture; Tulsi Gabbard, Director of National Intelligence; Kristi Noem, Department of Homeland Security; and now Doug Collins. So we're really excited to be bringing you the front seat to the golden era. Lock in and make sure you're tuning in with your Patriot mobile device. Make sure you're watching, ladies and gentlemen, on a device that, much like the golden era, will give you golden coverage and not allow you to fund the left. This is something that's very important to us, obviously. Patriot Mobile is the only Christian conservative wireless provider in the country. They provide exceptional cell phone service to us, our listeners, to our show, to our program. We're traveling at a blistering pace throughout the East Coast. Man, we were locked in. Baby Klein, we were like posting, going viral. Like before, we had the entire, it was incredible. Klein and I go to the airport in LaGuardia. We got this like long delay. And he looks at me and he's like, "Is all of our content up?" We're like, "Yes, all the content's up. All of it was up," because we were locked in and dialed in. Patriot Mobile helped us get there. Right now, go to patriotmobile.com/Benny or call 972-PATRIOT for a free month of service. Promo code Benny. Switch to Patriot Mobile today to defend freedom with every single call or text that you make. Visit patriotmobile.com/Benny. Call 972-PATRIOT. All right, ladies and gentlemen, speaking of people who are not patriots, I just wanted to cover very quickly Hunter Biden and what we were talking about with Garrett. I do my very best to make sure that all of our guests have a little bit of a preview before we dive right in, because I want to sort of set the table, as it were. Look at this. Watch. President Trump takes questions from the Oval Office. Bro, we beat Fox. We were live when Fox wasn't live for Trump. Okay. Hey, I don't run Fox. Okay. No hate, but we were the only people streaming. Okay, because we were locked in and we were ready to go. Hunter Biden's financial woes revealed in new motion to drop lawsuit. Significant debt. Oh, wow. Would you look at this? Boy, what a fraud on the American people. I got to talk to Garrett for another 2 hours. Guy's awesome. Here we go. In the second and third years of my dad's presidency, we call it the residency of the White House, I sold 27 pieces of art for an average of $55,000. $55,000 for this. It looks like an oil stain on the bottom of a car dealership. This looks like an STD, is what this looks like. And you know what? Paint what you know. And if you look at any of Hunter Biden's laptop, you'll realize that he's probably well familiar with STDs. Look at this. Oh boy. Yikes. $50,000 for this. I'm telling you that right now, Grok AI could paint you something that's far superior to this. They wrote up articles. They wrote big, glossy articles about how great Hunter Biden is. How great of an artist he is. But now look. Since then, I sold one piece of art for $36,000. Similarly, for my book sales, in 6 months before the statements, I sold 3,000 copies of my book. But since I've sold only 1,000, what this means, he also says he expected to be paid speaking engagements. Hunter Biden wanted you to pay him to come speak. What would Hunter Biden have told you? What story would Hunter Biden have told you? Probably this.
Cocaine. I probably smoke more Parmesan cheese than anyone that you know, I'm sure, Tracy.
Look at the press laughing. Look at them giggling about that. You smoke Parmesan cheese out of the carpet. We love you. We love you. So amazing. Oh, these scumbags. It is important. Because the news cycle is the speed of a gnat, it's important to just remind ourselves what we've been through. This guy This guy was literally in the Situation Room with Joe Biden, like making national security decisions. This guy. Apparently, White House staffers were horrified about it.
Tonight, NBC reports that first son, Hunter Biden, joined meetings with the president and senior staff this week in the West Wing. Reaction from senior staff described as, what the hell is happening? The White House had this explanation.
He came back with his dad from Camp David. He walked him into the speech prep, and he was in the room.
He was in the room, okay? Yeah. Well, now that Daddy is no longer sentient and is probably in hospice, have you seen Joe Biden? I haven't seen Joe Biden. There's only one time you saw Joe Biden. There's like one clip of Joe Biden at like some bakery, and he has this giant bruise on his face. It's weird. I don't know what's going on with this guy. Anyway, Hunter Biden, saying he's dead broke, is now seeking to dismiss his lawsuit against Marco Polo for publishing the rightful contents of his laptop, as you just heard Garrett explain. Normally, I would sort of build into the story and then bring Garrett on the show, but we had to work with time restraints here. So we're doing it in reverse. So Hunter Biden is saying that now his business has been very badly impacted by President Trump's victory and Joe Biden's being sent off into to pasture, as they say. I want to establish one very important thing, that Hunter Biden, in the same time that he was texting the mother of his children, that he got addicted to crack cocaine, by the way, okay? Someone named Naomi Biden. Hunter Biden addicts his wife to crack, then like goes on a philandering rampage. She divorces him. She's still addicted to crack. She's texting him, can you please help me with alimony? Can you please help me raise my kids? Raise our kids, correction? We're desperate here. We need help financially. Didn't you get all like billions of dollars from the Chinese and Ukrainians and every terrorist group in the world? Hunter Biden texts her back, according to the court filings. Texts her back, I'm broke. I don't have any money. The same year, he's spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on hookers, adult entertainment, payments to various women. This guy's a piece of filth. And rehab, that's right. Yeah, just and rehab. That's right. Look at this. $700,000 on payments to various women. You don't really, I'll let your imagination fill in the blank. If you look through Hunter Biden's laptop, you don't even have to fill in the blank. Look at this. Child care, home help, and cleaning, $39,000. So he spent 40 times more on hookers than he spent on child care for his own children. And Joe Biden said, Hunter Biden is the smartest man I know. These people are complete garbage. They're such scum. They're filth. They're despicable. And we've pulled like a nosedive, pulled out of a nosedive in this country. And it's thanks to you, thanks to the Patriots and this audience that did that right there. That's the United States of America map. You live in a red country. We have so very much to get to. Goodness gracious. Okay. Let's jump on something that's really fun and really special and ending, ladies and gentlemen, kicking off the week into on a good note, right? Donald Trump saying that Nicole Wallace and Rachel Maddow need to be fired for blasting 13-year-old cancer survivor. ALX, Klein, does Fox News, do they just take our questions? They just grab our, Klein and ALX, grab me that photo of the boat. Klein and ALX and I are standing on this boat in New York, just 2 days ago, and we're like standing on this Coast Guard cutter ship waiting for Secretary Noem. And we're like, what's going to break news? Let's make some news, right? Let's make some news. There's like a photo of ALX on the deck of the ship. That's something you could put up. We were standing there. We're like waiting for Kristi Noem. Like, gotta make some news. What are we going to ask? Oh, let's ask about whether Nicole Wallace should be fired for being such a nasty, evil woman and saying that she hopes that the 13-year-old little kid doesn't kill himself, right? This was her reaction to that. We asked Kristi Noem about it, and that went thermonuclear viral, right? This was the deck of the ship that we were on. It's pretty cool. And here's the other. Here's the ship. Here's Killer Klein. All right. Here's Klein. outside the ship. That's the front of the ship with a gun named Karen. That's called Karen because it's loud and annoying and expensive. And then here's ALX inside of like kind of the hangar bay there where a helicopter can land with New York skyline in the background. And we were just standing there like coming up with questions. Oh, let's ask about the assassinations. Oh, let's ask about firing Nicole Wallace. And then and then Fox News goes and bulldozes in the White House and asks the same questions of Trump. So whatever. We're happy to start the news cycle. Okay? We're thrilled. It's an honor. It's an honor. Here's us asking Kristi Noem about this question. Let's go.
Oh, not a lot of that was going on MSNBC. Rachel Maddow called it disgusting. And Nicole Wallace on MSNBC said that DJ should consider potentially killing himself. Those are her words, not mine. That's what she said. And she said that she made it in light of a joke about trying to make a joke about January 6th or something. It's repulsive. It's the most viral clip on the internet right now.
But I hope he never has to defend the United States Capitol against Donald Trump's supporters. And if he does, I hope he isn't one of the 6 who loses his life to suicide.
Do you think that she should lose her job for statements like this?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. There is a standard for those who report our news and who cover what happens in this country. And yes, those who employ her and pay her paycheck should evaluate if they want that to be the face of their operation.
Good. Well, Donald Trump asked that exact same question. Just like the question on the assassin, Donald Trump gets asked that, and guess what Trump has to say? Let's go.
And tonight, DJ, we're going to do you the biggest honor of them all. I am asking our new Secret Service Director, Sean Curran, to officially make you an agent of the United States Secret Service.
Democrats didn't clap. Did you see that clip? There's only Republicans clapping and chanting JD. Democrats weren't clapping. DJ. Democrats weren't clapping for DJ. 13-year-old kid with terminal cancer. Can't clap for that. No. Just like made his dream come true. He's now a Secret Service agent. Can't clap for that. In fact, we're gonna say, wow, I hope he doesn't kill himself. And then Rachel Maddow called it disgusting. Donald Trump asked to respond to these comments, and Trump is going in. Here we go.
Worse than CNN is MSDNC, which is the worst. And the good news is very few people watch them anymore. They have lost such credibility. And frankly, what Nicole Wallace said, I've never been a fan of hers, and she's not very talented. But I'll tell you, what she said the other day about that young man is disgraceful. She should be forced to resign. And Rachel Maddow should be forced to resign. Nobody watches her anyway. I don't know if it's not possible they pay her as much money as I hear, but certainly she's lost all credibility, both of them. But what they said the other day, they should be forced to resign about that young person who is suffering great.
Good. Great. We're happy to be making these news cycles, right? Ask the resignation question. We're like, again, this is our job. This is our job together. We can do it together. It's incredible to watch how the force of this program can actually go and create news cycles and can create excellent change for this country. And it's actually a wonderful country. It's worth preserving. It's worth saving. America is worth saving. And we're not just a bunch of tax cattle for a globalist empire that hates us and wants to turn us into a third world. No, actually. There is American exceptionalism. We are an exceptional people, and it's worth fighting for. I can show you a video to prove it. Here's a little DJ in the office, the Oval Office, going up and giving Trump a hug. Let me listen to this.
What a good-looking family, huh?
There's one more thing I got for you, a big hug.
Okay, good.
It's amazing.
That's very nice. Look
You
at
can't
that family you got.
watch it without smiling.
Very nice. How are you? Nice to see you, man. Nice
Can't-
to see you. That was a
can't
big
watch it
evening
without
last night, right?
Yes, it was.
That was a
having a
big
laugh.
evening.
It's beautiful. It's it's completely and totally heartwarming. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a lot of news this week, man. We have been rocking and rolling. We've been doing our very best to deliver on our promise to you. We will never, ever let you down on that promise. Being the front seat to the golden era, we're going to outwork and outfight absolutely everybody. However, when you are zipping through airports up and down the East Coast and doing our very best, getting absolutely zero sleep. We ended the live. We got back to the hotel at 1, and then we got on a train at 4. The train left at 4. So we get just enough time to like repack our gear. Really. So we do, quite frankly, suffer sometimes from our nutritional values. We need to be able to rip on the fly. Guess who traveled with us when we went up to DC and to New York? Field of Greens. Field of Greens, ladies and gentlemen, gives me the confidence that I can get my fruits and vegetables that I need to keep going quick and on the fly. Ladies and gentlemen, it's sometimes not realistic to eat all of the vitamins, fruits, and vegetables that you need to make sure that you have a healthy start to your day. That's why you need to use Field of Greens. You'll have a better overall feeling, better gut health, and you'll just have more energy. I certainly do. Every single fruit and vegetable in Field of Greens is doctor selected for specific health benefits. Heart healthy group, lungs, kidney, metabolism groups, even healthy weight group. Field of Greens promises that your next checkup, your doctor will notice your improved health or your money back. I've got a 20% discount for you to get started. So go to fieldofgreens.com, use my code Benny, fieldofgreens.com, and use my code Benny to make sure that you are able to lock in with your busy life when sometimes you just don't, sometimes you quite literally don't have the time to sit and eat. It's a place that we find ourselves in all the time. Here's some place that we find ourselves in every single Friday, which is the Ask Benny Anything section of the show. And let's go. Brian Hammock. Benny, I'm curious why nobody ever talks about the Council on Foreign Relations as it pertains to the deep state. Yeah, Council on Foreign Relations. Remember when Joe Biden was there? That was where Joe Biden said, oh, you know, you're not going to give me the money? Son of a bitch. We're going to hold up the $1 billion in Ukraine. Like, again, using Ukraine as a pivot point to enrich his own family. This is when Joe Biden was like bragging about the open corruption. Yes, Council on Foreign Relations is effectively like a holding house for every deep state agent, for every globalist, and is the perpetrators of the unified theory of government. These guys are designed to ensure that American people have no say in our government and that there is a permanent bureaucracy. It's utterly evil. It's actually where the deep state comes from. You have to look into it. You have to get into it. Council on Foreign Relations. Brian, you're locked in. You're identifying. You're over the target. Start with USAID and move along quickly. Thank you. For your question, Truman asking, hey, Benny, I'm proof. You listened to the chat. You put up an election map just as I suggested. What's up, Truman? Every time we tune in, it makes us feel like we're part of the show. If you ever take it down and change it, can we have it? The answer is yes. Big hearts out of the chat. The answer is yes. That's the election map right there. And unlike some people who sit there on like little Zoom backgrounds, I have an extended earpiece here so that I can like move around inside of our actual real physical studio. It's like a real physical background. It's freaking awesome. We have like real physical elements here. Sometimes we don't use them enough, but we are very, very American. We have our American flag, and we also have a number of bottles of whiskey that have remained unopened. I guess we'll have to wait for some type of special time to open them. People send us bottles of whiskey. We have like a whole whiskey shelf there. All the bottles are still sealed. I live very much a sober life right now, more or less. I used to really like bourbon, but now it's no fun to have like 4 kids, 4 and under with a hangover. It's no fun. It's no fun to do the show with a hangover. So we just got to live the clean life. Chicken Little Carnivore says, Gavin Newsom is starting a podcast. Thoughts? Charlie was on the podcast yesterday, and he ate, man, no crumbs. So he just completely owned Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom just got freaking bodied by Charlie Kirk yesterday. We put up a couple clips on our social media. You can find the full thing. But Charlie went on and, I guess, respect Gavin Newsom for trying to, this is something libs never do, have other voices on. We'd be happy to go on the Gavin Newsom podcast. Please, Gavin, have us. I think it'd be wall to wall. It'd be really fun. But what else? Gavin Newsom's trying to run for president. That's what's going on. Gavin Newsom wants to become a centrist, even though he is like a Batman villain, like psychotic, tyrannical, radical sociopath. He's like a legitimate sociopath. He's a very, very evil man. Here's the image. Here's the post on X of Charlie's hit. I guess you'd call it a hit, like question and answer with Gavin Newsom. Yeah, I guess good on Gavin for bringing on platforming people that aren't allowed to be platformed. Okay, glad that that's being broken down. But then also understand the game that's going on here. Oh, I'm a centrist now. I'm Gavin Newsom. Elect me in 2028. That's what's going on. Okay, and Gavin Newsom will be running for president in 2028. So be careful. If you're going to go on Gavin Newsom's podcast, you better go in with a flamethrower. And Charlie did. So good. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, you can sign up for the Benny Brigade. And you can ask questions too. We're going to be doing a series of big announcements for cabinet secretaries that we're going to be interviewing. We'll be taking questions from you for that, and I will ask them. We do make the chat part of the show. We want to make sure that the chat knows that we love the chat, hearts, and shout out to the chat all the time. The way to lock in with our programming is to become a member of the Benny Brigade. You can also become members on the platforms that you watch if you wish for special little items like having our custom emojis here on YouTube. We're the only people that actually do that, and we're having a fun time. I don't know why more people don't do it. Anyway, if you feel compelled to support our show, that's the way to do it. If you're just watching, then we thank you as well, because watching the program, liking, subscribing to the channel, leaving a comment, that helps out the show. This is how that makes the show bigger, and we're like the #1 news streaming show on all of YouTube today. So it's freaking awesome. We're growing like crazy, and it's all because of you and because of the grace and providence of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And that is why we do a verse of the day, ladies and gentlemen, and always end our show with wisdom from the Lord. That, of course, makes whatever petty little wisdoms we might have look small and irrelevant in comparison. So a good way to end the show. Off into the weekend with our Philippians 4:9 verse. Here we go. What you have learned and received and heard and seen in me, practice these things, and God and the God of peace will be with you. You want to know do you want to know who's locked in? Do you want to know the people that are properly locked in? And I am very, very guilty of this. Are the people who are living in peace. Okay? Yeah, like peaceful people. I don't know, Master Splinter, like peaceful, calm, in control, in command people that aren't regularly shaken. I'm telling you, you find somebody like that, I'll find you somebody who has a rock solid relationship with their creator, who understands the order of the universe. It's the frenetic, frantic, twitchy people, right? That are unmoored and are not dependable and are no fun to be around and who make terrible decisions and have bad impulses. Think about a UFC. Klein's huge, loves fighting. You look at these UFC champions, you look at these guys, when they're about to knock some dude out, when they're about to defend the true champion who's about to defend his title and just walk away with it, dude, chill, relaxed, limber, vibing with the moment, totally in control. It's the people who are all nervous and all twitchy that clearly they're going to lose. They're going to lose that fight. So win the fight with us, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure that you're locked into the God of peace. Be at peace in this moment. And it helps us. It helps us. The reason our show's in the place that it is right now is because of you, but also because we persevered through really bad moments. We had peace through it all in our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, through God, the Father. And so that's how we were able to like kind of power through these last 4 years. And now, look what's happening. It's exciting. We can do a live Trump from the Oval Office, right? Never had any doubts. Live President Trump from the Oval Office during the show. It's kind of like a dream come true. Thank you for being with us on the golden era. You are in your front seat to the golden era, ladies and gentlemen. We didn't even get to talk about the Washington Post article. One final thing. The Washington Post, writers at the Washington Post, watched the freaking show and then wrote us up with our tagline, front seat to the golden era. They literally wrote up the show this past week and were like, yeah, he promises his audience a front seat to the golden era, and he keeps interviewing all these cabinet secretaries and doing all these lives from inside the Capitol and the White House and everything. It's like so awesome. You don't have to put it up. It's fine. It's fine. It's self-referential. You don't need to put it up. I'm just saying it's an honor to be able to do that for you and with you, right? Because we're doing this together. It's an honor to be able to use the power that we can all have together on this program and push for positive change. Yeah, it's this article right here. Yeah, this is the headline of the article. Inside the White House's new media strategy to promote Trump as king. Now, call it what it is, ladies and gentlemen. So down at the very bottom, they talk about the Benny Show and our front seat to the golden era. And ladies and gentlemen, we're proud to do it. We're thankful for it. And here we go. The Capitol, where he live streamed a friendly chat. Well, there you go. Shout out to the chat. There it is right there. Shout out to the chat. You made it into the Washington Post chat. Yes. The front seat to the golden era. Let's freaking go. What an exciting time. We're here with you. Head into your weekend in this, the greatest country on earth. It's your boy Benny. See ya.
Who the hell is this? I was freaking sleeping! I will rip your throat out! Do you hear me? You're in the bushes! Yeah! Don't make me sleep! Bushes all around! Quick, jump on.
The biggest ships in the sea, all owned by the oldest kings, and a dying legacy, media deal weeds. Soon will the Benny Show come to mind, the salt from lives for fun. Be the gold and bring the gun, we sail for number one. Show come to mind, the salt from lives for fun. Leave the gold and bring the gun, we sail for number one. The biggest ships in the sea, all owned by the oldest king.